All right. 3, 2, 1. It's the liver shot. All right, buddy.
All right. I'm Don, and this is Dave.
What's going on?
And this is the premiere episode of the Liver Shot. A little bit about us. We're just a couple guys that are both MMA fans. Experts by no means. We have no combat sports training, but we like to watch MMA and drink beer. So we're going to give you our analysis and from our fan perspective.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if there's anything you want to talk about yourself a little bit, your background with MMA, Dave?
Yeah, with me, I got into mixed martial arts, like viewing and just watching the fights a lot later than probably yourself or anybody else, back in like the Liddell days and Tito and all that. I really got into it with pride when I didn't even know what it was. I remember watching it in the morning, come on at like 4 a.m. I'd be up watching that, not knowing what was going on. But yeah, I remember the big names like Fedor and Nogueira and everybody else, and that's just like, I don't know, it got intriguing then, but I still had no clue what the heck I was watching there. And then found out about the UFC, obviously. And I think that's kind of where we're both at now, is like, don't do any mixed martial arts. Everything's from a fan perspective, but that's what the UFC, all these organizations looking at right now, is how do people view the sport, what's attracting them, and I think that's kind of what we'll probably get into today, is what's changing right now in mixed martial arts that was not when I was watching this back in 2004.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm getting at today, and probably the structure from my view normally.
Yeah, so I've been watching probably going on 15 years now. I started right before the first season of Tough, and right before Anderson Silva made his UFC debut. So I feel like I've seen it change a lot in that time, but that's one of the exciting things for me about MMA, is that it's so young, that it's evolving so quickly.
Yep.
It used to be you saw all of these specialists coming in with fantastic judo, or just a
name.
Yeah, wrestling, or he's the jiu-jitsu guy, and now you can't survive like that. No. I mean, there are a couple guys that are still doing that. Damian Maia, I think, is the first one to come to mind.
Yep.
But you cannot survive as a one-trick pony.
You got to have every gamut of the sport now.
The sport is evolving so quickly. I just find it so interesting.
When do you think that happened? When do you, like, not year range, just overall transition, like, do you think it happened right after Liddell and them started retiring? Or do you think it was happening but no one saw it, and then all of a sudden it just took off because there's guys that, like Zabit, that came out of nowhere that picked up 20 years worth of a game and did it probably in 5 years of his full sport?
Yeah,
when he's competing.
It's hard to put a date on it.
Yeah.
You can see the spectrum as you go back when you have like the very first UFC events, and you actually have guys who are I am a kickboxer.
That's it.
I am a jiu-jitsu player.
I'm full wrestler.
I am a boxer.
Yep.
And it just kind of has evolved slowly from that point to where it is now.
And I think the reason too, I think nobody has a choice. You have to learn everything now, or you're going to get eaten alive.
And I should not have said slowly. It's evolved very quickly to where it is now. It is entirely different.
No, it seems slow there for a while. Like, okay, First Tough. When you're watching both of them go at it, when you had Forrest Griffin and Bonner go at it, if you put any of those guys in the ring nowadays, you'd be concerned for their life. But back then, those guys were beating anybody on the planet because there was only a couple facets of the game then, or only thought to focus on that was in the public eye. Now you got guys and girls doing everything under the book, and they work on one special thing for one camp. Next camp, there's 3 special things. There's never the same game plan.
Yeah, it's so incredibly different right now
than ever.
Yeah, and it's the level of skill is as high as it's ever been. So it's just very fun to watch.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're excited about MMA.
Absolutely.
And that's why we are starting up this podcast. So the way we're going to make this work is we'll have discussions about current topics, things of interest in the UFC, in MMA in general, but we are going to focus a good deal of our
heavy on
focus on the UFC. It seems to be the most prevalent and easiest to follow, easiest to consume right now. But there are great fighters elsewhere. So we'll go through current events. We'll recap some previous fights, give you our opinions on them, and who we would like to see those fighters get matched up with next.
Yep.
We'll also preview some fights that are coming up, give you predictions, how we see fights going, and then we can meet back next time and discuss them.
Yep.
Right now, I think we're going to be doing this every few weeks, depending on how our schedules go and the fight schedules. We'll try and give you a preview and a review on everything.
This year. A lot of fights this year. Now with the ESPN Plus, I like not to plug that, but there's a lot of big fights on ESPN Plus.
Right. I think it's going to be even easier to consume this year than last. So they're going to make as many cards as they can, and I think the cards on ESPN and ESPN Plus are going to be ending earlier. They're going to be quicker cards, and so you don't get there watch until 2 in the morning on
on Saturday.
Yeah, it seemed like they used to just draw them out as long as they could.
Remembering 2 fights in the beginning, and that's it.
But so we're going to do that, and then I think to start off these first few podcasts, we're going to focus on some specific divisions, get the conversations flowing. So we'll jump into the heavyweight division right now.
Yeah.
And where that starts out is the age of the heavyweight division. everyone is it's definitely the oldest. Division. Yeah, it's the oldest division in the UFC by far.
Yep.
And I guess it is changing though.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how it's evolving.
Yeah, I mean, I always use the term the Dinosaur Division because, I mean, you got your Hall of Famers, you got your Mark Hunts, you got your, Leskys. I mean, but now I think, like, last 3-4 years definitely did not have the change you're seeing right now. With the young guys coming up, name a couple, Curtis Blades, Justin Willis, Alexander Volkov, I mean, just to name a few. Even Derek Lewis, he's not that young, but he's made a huge statement in the last 3 years.
Well, Francis isn't that young, but he's only been fighting for a few years. There's still a long way he can come.
And I think that's the difference now is, like, you got one new fighters, which is going to happen anyway, but you don't have guys that have been around the game for 15 years that everybody either knows or they've been around but nobody really cares to know about them. And you don't have just 5 fun fighters to watch. Like, I think there's I know we talked about it. Curtis Blades has had some tough times coming in, especially with Francis, but I think him in 2-3 years easily could be somebody going for the belt. Justin Willis, I mean, he's a stereotypical heavyweight right now. I think he's got a lot of entertaining stuff going on in his boat. I mean, now that JDS is coming back, he's older, but he can face a lot of these younger guys and see where he's at in his career.
He's actually not as old as I thought he was. I was surprised to see he's only 34.
34?
Yeah,
okay.
I thought he was definitely on the other side of 35.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, and then same thing is like, okay, you got a lot of different styles of heavyweights right now. So let's just start out with the obvious, DC. Okay? DC, powerhouse wrestler, grappling, just overall game has always been dominant. No one's really been able to figure it out, which from a fan's view, if you looked at DC, you'd go, how is this guy the heavyweight champ, and how is he only lost to John Jones, basically.
Yeah. You see him when Brock Lesnar came into the ring
and just shoved him.
He is so much smaller than him. He's a little dude compared to him.
That's a big man compared to him. But finds a way to win. Well, think about it. Stipe's no slouch. JDS is a super big dude. Obviously, Lesnar, Gustafsson when he fought him. Gustafsson's, 6'6", 6'7", almost. But I think somebody like DC is that middle ground. He's not the newer guy in, but he's got new-aged heavyweight. He's not going there to knock your head off or have the big punch knockout. He's not looking to only wrestle the whole time. You looked at that at Stipe. Knocked Stipe out with a short right. I don't know, I know he's not one of the younger guys, but I think he's changed the heavyweight division to show, you don't have to have the stereotypical guy there. You don't have to have a Brock Lesnar that just wants to bull rush you and overwhelm you. You don't need a Frank Mir that's just trying to turn knees inside out. Or you don't need a guy that's 265 pounds that just one punch takes your brain to the back of your head.
Yeah, I honestly think it shows that there's a lot less skill in the heavyweight division than in the other divisions right now.
That's probably a really valid point.
He's not as big as the other guys. He's fantastic. He's a fantastic wrestler. He's a fantastic fighter. He's unreal. But it's not. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the heavyweight division to improve. I think it's the division with the most opportunity. And there are some young guys in it. I mean, a vast majority of the top half of the heavyweight division are guys approaching 40 that have been doing it for a long time, and they've been doing all kinds of organizations, and they've been successful. But as we're talking about how MMA on the whole has evolved, I think the heavyweight division has been the slowest in that evolution.
Yep.
So there are some guys coming up. I know Alex Volkov.
Yeah, I was just
he's going to regret that last 20 seconds against Derek Lewis for probably the rest of his career. He was so close to getting up there to get a title shot.
That was a contender.
He's under 30, and he'll be back.
Yep.
There's a couple other young guys. Tai Tuivasa.
Yeah.
He's 25.
I never say his name right, but I love watching the guy fight.
I mean, he could potentially be here for 15 more years. So I think that it's coming. The heavyweight division is just the last to come around.
Yeah.
But it is coming.
Well, think of the people he's fought. So, like, okay, you bring up good about Ty, like Bam Bam. I'll just call him Bam Bam because I can't say his name right ever. He fought McSweeney. McSweeney was on Tough when they had him on there with Brendan Schaub and the heavyweights. Nobody crazy, but he fought him back in 2016, corner stopped him. Then you got, like, to beat Andrei Arlovsky, whether it's a decision or not, Andrei Arlovsky is still a guy that can put you out at any minute, or he's just for broke every time. So you don't underestimate, like...
Yeah, he doesn't have the same
dinosaur.
chin he used to, but
he doesn't have the chin,
good.
but the power, like they always, it's the last thing to go. It is, and that's the reason he did it. And then, okay, JDS. He lost to JDS on a knockout. Who hasn't? JDS, I mean, so again, what you brought up, this guy's 25. This guy's got probably 10 more years in the heavyweight unless he goes into some serious wars. He's entertaining to watch. Dude's got a big gut. He's Hawaiian.
Yeah.
He comes in there. He's always dancing. He's always entertainment. He throws bombs all day long. What else do you want in the heavyweight? But that's the hard thing with the heavyweight right now. What else do you do than throw bombs or wrestle somebody?
Yeah.
If you're not DC, Stipe, or Kane.
It's definitely the most one-dimensional division.
You don't ever have a heavyweight winning by leg kicks. Submissions, but it's never entertaining submissions.
Frank Mir and Verdum, both that was they were great at that.
You're never going to see that again in the UFC as far as, Frank, I think Frank could do some things over in Bellator. I think this last fight with the jaw situation, that could be a big setback for a guy that has been through some wars also.
I think Alexei,
I like it. I like the boa constrictor.
Yeah, he'll get a hold of you, and he's not just looking to wrestle you and beat you up or
the
stand
Damian
up
Maia of the heavyweight.
Yeah.
I like that Mark Hunt fight more than anything because, one, Mark Hunt's not really a grappler, so Mark's going to have to throw more bombs and inside leg kicks. Oleski wants to just get a hold of you and choke you out. So it's two different game plans. It's not going to be slow. But, the only person he lost to that was anything decent was Curtis Blades. He submitted Albini, which, I'm sorry, after this last fight with Albini, I don't know how long he's going to be in the heavyweight division.
Yeah,
he's probably got one fight left.
He's got to win.
He subbed Travis Brown, and think about that. Travis Brown back, 2017? Yeah, he had some rough fights. Travis Brown was still a motherfucker to deal with.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of, he's going to always have subs.
Yeah, if you look at these, and they're all first and second round.
They're all first,
yeah. He's just getting a hold of them.
He overwhelms you.
Yeah.
Here's another one that I don't talk enough about is Marcin Taberia. I always call him just Tabur. But, yeah, Stefan Struve, he won decision. Obviously, when Derek Lewis was on his streak, lost to him. Andrei Arlovsky, he won against him. There's another guy as young as he is. He's 33, but he could go another 5 years, and he could be a contender. Everybody in the heavyweight, I think right now, age-old saying anybody could come in and do something crazy.
Right. Well, there's always the puncher's chance in that division.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest issue with them being the last to come around as far as the level of the game evolving is the fact that you got to find someone that weighs 250 pounds to go up against, to train against. And there's not too many of those.
You don't have Kane and DC camps where you just have two brutes going at each other every day.
Yeah, that's so hard to find someone that big that you can really go at it with. That I think that's holding them back too. So as this sport gains traction and the bigger athletes choose to go that direction because now there's money in it and there's.
Or maybe a camp thinks about getting guys in there that are high-level linemen and say, look, think about it. I know, how the guys bring the wrestling guys for featherweight, lightweight. Say, hey, I'm going to bring in an ex-lineman, and I want you just to try to take him down for 15 minutes, and this guy's going to have 50 pounds on you, which you'll never see.
Right. Some lineman with high school wrestling experience or college wrestling experience, too.
Keep somebody, get somebody in there that's going to give you a hard time. You could get...
No NFL coach is going to allow that happen. Maybe some retired...
Well, they were retired. Get somebody that's retired. I don't know, man. I always thought about that. But, yeah, you're right. Training with someone consistently that's not bigger or the same size is hard to find.
Yeah, at that size, it's hard to
level.
find someone who's at that level who's a big enough.
Punched in the face, too.
Right. So I think that's holding them back too. But I think it's all going in the right direction. It'll get there.
It's evolved, like I was saying earlier, 3 or 4 years. This division's turned to 180 compared to what it used to be. All you ever wanted to see: Mark Hunt, Andrei Arlovsky, JDS when he was in there active,
Alistair Overeem,
and DC when he came up. And then obviously out of nowhere, Brock Lesnar comes around. He does the Frank Mir stuff, which everybody was excited about. But then he disappears, and then we're back to what we did 10 years ago.
So we've been talking about the heavyweight division for a while now, and I don't know that we've even mentioned Stipe.
I knew you were going to say that.
Which is, I think, kind of fucked up. But
yeah, that's true.
It's kind of where the UFC is right now, which I don't hear any talk about Stipe fights.
Well, I don't think it helps that Stipe basically put his foot down and said, Dana, you're not going to control me as a fighter like you do other people. Whether that's true or not, saying, give me the belt, give it to my coach, put it around my stomach, and making a big deal about it. He has every right to do that. I don't think it helps his case to getting promoted as much. But people, it's like DC, man. People don't want to jump on with Stipe. Like everyone says, he's a part-time firefighter. He was heavyweight champ, most defense ever. Everybody in America should be behind him. Dude, he's got it. But that's the thing. This is where the sport's evolving. You want your bad boys. You want your uniqueness.
That's the uniqueness. He's the firefighter who's the fighter.
All right, so how many people jump behind Weidman, the All-American? If you want any more All-American than a wrestler, his dad is his coach, he's always in his corner, that's still my boy. Think about if Stipe's dad's in the corner with him, his wife's in the corner, and it's not going to help his case. People just don't jump on Stipe unless you're from Ohio. If you're up in Cleveland, you're MGK, listen to an album in the car with him. Besides that, nobody is going to jump on him like some other marketing stuff. There's so many marketable fighters, but it's how you market them.
Yeah, I just think it's a lot of missed opportunity because I think he is marketable. I think that
100%. I agree with you 100%.
Is marketable, and that
you can't
he's a great fighter,
it.
and he's accomplished more as a champion than anyone ever has in the UFC. I'm not ready to say he is the best champion in the history of the heavyweight division.
He's got a lot of time.
But yeah, he's 36.
He's got 4 more years in that type of division.
Yeah, he's only got 21 fights, but I mean, heavyweight fights could take a lot out of you.
That's a lot of wear.
Yeah.
Well, it's also too is with his success, how much longer is it worth taking potential a lot of punishment? Like, there's fights like with Francis, he could have taken a ton of damage, and thank goodness didn't.
He didn't. But if
that could have set him back a lot longer. He doesn't want to take the risk of going against somebody that can put that damage on.
Recently, DC is the only one who's done it.
And that's
Francis clipped him, but he
that's
not
3
enough
punches.
Yeah,
that's 3 punches. We're not talking about like
right. It was the first round, so it wasn't 5 rounds of war.
5, yeah, or just having your face beat.
But before that, knocked out Santos first round, knocked out Overeem in the first round, knocked out Verdum in the first round. Those are not long fights that took a lot out of him.
God, that Verdum knockout was so great. Just falling around the cage.
Yeah, and then got him.
It just drops, and he looked at him like, oh, he's down.
Yeah. So the top of the heavyweight division is DC.
Yep.
Where is he going from here?
Oh, gosh, we could be here a minute. All right. So I know I said this the other day when I sent you over this information. I think DC realistically, in 2019, we're almost into March, I bet he fights 2 more times by the time he can get a schedule in.
2 more times in 2019 or 2 more times?
2 more times in 2019.
You think he's going to fight in 2020?
I think he gets either a trilogy fight with, we're not even going to talk about Jones yet, but that is a trilogy fight in 2020 allegedly, or he gets with Stipe this year or in 2020 retired. I think he retires early 2020. So at the max, he's got 3 fights.
3 fights?
Yep.
3 fights, and you said
2 of them this year, 1 of them early 2020, retires before middle of the year 2020.
So you think 3 fights, 1 of them is Jones, 1 of them is
Stipe,
and the other one is who?
It might be a money fight.
Like a Brock?
It could be a Brock. It could even be, we don't know after Kane Francis here what could happen. Think about it. Let's say Francis knocks out Kane, DC's training partner. They're like, hey, perfect marketing.
Yeah, that would
Let's
happen.
take the guy that slayed the alleged, in my opinion, the greatest heavyweight of all time, training partner, and let's put him in there and see how he puts up against it, and then finish his career out on that, or have that his second to last fight.
Yeah. Well, he's clearly not going to retire. by his 40th birthday, like he always said.
No.
But I don't think he's going to make it to his 41st birthday. So
that's kind of what I'm looking at.
So
there you go, March next year.
Yeah,
yep.
I could see one fight early 2020.
I like that.
I don't know. He's saying right now he's got to rehab. He's got injuries he's got to deal with.
Which he may.
I don't see him fighting anytime before July at the earliest.
No.
So maybe he fights July International Fight Week.
When you brought that up, I like that, but it's all dependent on the rehab.
Yeah,
if he's really, really hurt and they're trying to disclose it, they're not going to want to put DC out there not as fresh as possible.
Yeah.
Especially against anybody that's a top 3.
Yeah, I see him defending his heavyweight title one time.
Yep.
And that may be against Brock. And it may be, I hope it's not. But
it's not.
I prefer it to be against Stipe. I think that makes the most sense. And then I think that there's going to be enough money that he'll have a trilogy fight with Jones.
Yep.
But I think that's it. I think he's got 2 fights. I could see potentially 3. But I don't think he's going to do one more and go. I think he does have 2 fights that he's gonna fight.
Not even being biased because I'm a Stipe fan. Stipe deserves a rematch. Okay, he's the most defending. I like that matchup because, like everybody says, let's say that first round doesn't happen that way. They go the second round. They get out of the second round. They get into a third round. Now we're in a whole different game plan with both guys because Stipe's gone 5 rounds. DC's gone 5 rounds. What's it going to take, what mess up, what mistake, or what new game plan that we could see that we didn't get to see the first time?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity. You can't say you've seen the whole fight play out because we didn't.
You may never either.
The other thing is, who else is getting that title shot?
Nobody.
Who else deserves it? I guess your thing where if Francis knocks out Kane tonight, then I could see the argument that Francis gets the title shot.
Well, the problem with that is it's not as much he deserves it; it's a marketable fight. Because Kane comes back.
Yeah, and
Kane
off
gets
whatever
starched.
Yeah.
He's been laid off, so everybody automatically assumes he's over the hill. Yeah. Now we got But here's the deal: is Francis going to come out with confidence, or is he going to come out like he did before with Derek Lewis and Stipe? So you don't know. Again,
big question.
Biggest question in the heavyweight division is anything's 50-50, man. You can not wake up for a day in the heavyweight division, or you can be the champ overnight.
So let's say DC does get 3 more fights in.
Okay.
Let's say it is a title fight against Brock, followed by I
know, I'm listening.
Followed by a title defense against Stipe.
Yep.
Followed by a trilogy fight with Jones. Leave it open-ended whether it's light heavyweight or heavyweight. A trilogy fight with Jones.
Yeah, heavyweight.
How well do you think he does in those 3 fights? You think he wins 2 of them?
I think he wins 2 of them.
Yeah?
Healthy. I'm not trying to put the injury card in there, but if he's having a really bad time right now because it's been a while since they've kept him under wraps, but also he just knocked out Stipe and heavyweight champion of the world. He doesn't have to jump right back in. Mm-hmm. Even if they're going to if they try to force him.
He didn't just knock out Stipe. When was that fight?
Well,
July? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so we're coming up on a year in this July, but at the same time...
He fought Derek Lewis, but, I mean, that was not a fight for him.
That's why I don't include it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so. I definitely think he beats Brock if they win.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I was so convinced that Stipe was going to beat him the first time, and then he knocked him out in so convincing fashion. I don't know about that second fight, and I don't see him winning against Jones, but he very well could. So I think he could definitely win 2 of these fights. Yeah. I think he may win 3. I mean, we're talking about one of the best fighters ever.
All it comes I mean, hands down one of the greatest lightweight and heavyweights of all time. I mean, think about when he fought in WEC. He was a heavyweight champ there.
Mm-hmm, right.
And he was not fighting any slouches. But the old question, when's Father Time going to catch up?
It also is messed up that he could be number 1 pound for pound in the UFC pound for pound rankings. I think that's bogus that any heavyweight could ever be the exact opposite with pound for pound 4.
Yeah.
But he is nonetheless he is a fantastic fighter.
You're
one of the
always
best we've
top
ever
3.
had.
He's always going to be top 3 just for the accomplishments
Yep.
and overall some of the embarrassments. There's a lot of embarrassing fights that he's done.
He's only won. He's only ever won.
I know.
There's nothing embarrassing about winning.
No, I mean, no. That's what I'm saying. There's some embarrassing fights that he made top level guys look like children in that division.
Oh, embarrass them?
Embarrass them.
Oh, okay.
Not him.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. When you're fighting Derek Lewis, the Black Beast, when you're fighting guys like that can knock anyone out, Stipe and stuff, and then you just turn him into a child. Gustafsson, he did it. He threw him in a 180, man.
Oh, Gustafsson was a close fight.
And I mean, granted, that's at lightweight. I'm just meaning in
Gustafsson
general,
was a close fight.
The stuff that he did to people that a lot of other guys couldn't do, that's why he's at that level.
Yeah, he's just better.
Yeah,
All right.
I like that. So yeah, I agree with you on that. I got to bring it up with it though. Okay, so let's say he gets in a fight with Lesnar. Now we got two father time issues. We got a guy almost touching 41 or 40, and then we got another guy that's been in and off of whatever type of supplements, we're guessing, we're not going to speculate, and been in the WWE for a while, hasn't been training specifically for MMA. What happens in that fight if that happens? Size advantage or not, that's all DC does, is wrestle and train at high level.
Yeah, with the highest
with
level.
the highest level to top team.
Yep.
And that's it. Brock is doing WWE, doing commercials, whatever, marketing, whatever else. He's not 100% focused on his task right now. So, yeah, it's a money name, it's a money fight, but as far as the logistics go with the fight, is it actually going to be a good fight? Or is it going to be DC just overwhelms him like Kane did, and then there's no fighting, it's just beating up on a punching bag?
Yeah, I honestly don't think it'll be competitive. And I have a problem with bringing... Same thing happened with GSP. Bringing someone in like this who hasn't fought in so long for a title shot. If it's a big money fight...
If it's a money fight,
whatever. If you got people watching them, whatever. But to give him a title... Because, I mean, GSP, what do you do? Turn around like 2 weeks later and say, no, I'm not going to defend it. I would imagine Brock Lesnar's going to do the same thing, or he's going to act like he's going to defend it and then hang up the division.
He doesn't need it.
Yeah, I don't see that him winning either way, but I'm not a fan of the move.
Well, that also comes back to what the young fighters now in this league. That's, I wouldn't say the word unfair, but that doesn't help progress the heavyweight division. Let's say a bunch of these guys are waiting around because all these money fights and all these potential title fights of guys that haven't even fought. Now that pushes their timeline back, and you get someone like Stipe at 36. 2 years go by, that's a big difference.
You can't be waiting.
You can't be sitting around waiting, and I think that's what's going to happen is these guys are going to go, hey, man, it's been 2 years, I've fought 3 times, and I'm not even contender series because I got to wait for these other money fights to push through. Yeah. But obviously we all know that it doesn't matter what organization, what promotion, that has to happen because fans like us want to see matchups that matter, that are entertaining. It's not always about what makes the most sense on paper. There's no paper fighting, especially in the heavyweight division. I mean, let's just be honest. Everything can look good on paper. And then Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou, that on paper looked like a nightmare knockout in heaven.
Yeah,
I was waiting for someone's head to come off of them.
Yep.
And then we go to a snooze fest, which, that's a whole podcast in itself. But
so speaking of entertaining fights,
okay,
what kind of heavyweight division fights that have been made? Now they're on paper. Are you interested in watching?
Absolutely. So,
I know for me the first one that comes to mind is tonight's fight. It's
I was going to say
Kane
we might
and
as well
Francis.
just jump right into Kane and Francis on that.
Yeah, it's going to be Kane's first fight in years.
Almost 3 years.
And Francis is always fun to watch unless it's Derek Lewis. And I guess that's the question is what Francis comes out. How much is he going to let his hands fly, or how cautious is he going to be? He hasn't looked the same since that Stipe fight. No. But I think that we're looking at the classic wrestler-striker.
Yep.
And
that can still strike.
Yeah, and they're the two most dangerous at that. I mean, it's the most dangerous wrestler and the most dangerous striker. So that's the fight I'm most excited for. That's tonight. I can't wait.
That's a big fight.
Really think Kane is the best heavyweight ever.
Yeah, I agree.
UFC or not,
you could have put him in any organization. You put him in Pride. He would have been one of the top.
I've
Steroids
been
or not.
so impressed with him ever since he was in the UFC. And he's just been so unfortunate with injuries. He cannot stay healthy. There was that whole fight in Mexico City where you see a Cain Velasquez who is known for his cardio just get
that altitude, man, catches up to you.
He could make it out. I mean, it's rough.
Did you hear about what they said about that? You're actually better if somebody would have talked to Cain and said, "Hey, you're going to Mexico City, right, to fight here in a couple months. You either need to leave now and be there 3-4 months, or you need to leave 3 days before and get there, just because your body's going to go through a shock regardless. The shock time's going to be less."
Yeah, I think
instead of training in an altitude that you've never trained in, and you got to get your body acclimated in 2 weeks, because he went up there 2 weeks prior. Verdum was up there almost 3 months.
Yeah. I think I heard TJ Dillashaw say something like that.
He did.
Saying that if you show up and you don't give your body time to start adjusting, it's not going to hurt you as much as if you were there for a week or 2 weeks. And I think they said like you need to be at least 8 weeks or do your whole camp there or something like that.
That's insane.
For that to really acclimate to your body so it doesn't
and that's
affect you. I also did not know that Mexico City was like
that high
another 50% higher than Denver.
Which that's what they said. They're like guys that train in Denver would struggle there. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. But
yeah, I think I saw it was like
50%
5,200 feet is the elevation in Denver, and Mexico City is like 7,400.
That's high.
It's like considerably higher. Which
when
I
hiked to 8,000, which was nothing compared to some people. I'm sure the people listening to this like, oh yeah, good for you, first time. But literally got up to the top, and I'm like, probably the most out of breath I've ever been, but not trying to show it. And I think that's what got Cain is obviously altitude. But, dude, let's all be honest. Verdum is a motherfucker on the floor, on his back, on top of you, from the first times that he got in Strikeforce days to even now in his 40s. You get around that guy and he gets a hold of you, you're losing a limb.
Verdum's great, but I don't think Cain looked himself.
He wasn't. And you also got to remember, too, that's a fight that, look at the guys he fought before. He wasn't fighting Brazilian black belts. He's not. He's fighting guys that are trying to take your head off. Dos Santos, back when Silva was around, one of the best fights before he got hurt that I love, and I think it was because after Verdum tapped him out, is Travis Brown.
Yeah.
This reason Travis Brown's nose is fucked up as it is because Cain got back to his old style. But it's 2016. 3 years off, neck's been fucked up, back's been fucked up, but he's been training consistently with the heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens.
So what do you think is going to happen tonight?
Okay. I would say, like everybody, I don't think it gets out of 2 rounds. My personal opinion. I don't think anybody's going to lag anybody into deeper rounds to try to tire them out or anything else. I think Francis, if he has his confidence, will go in there and do his usual, try to take someone's head off, but he might be more patient. He's still going to take a head off, but he's not going to be swinging for the fences as early to possibly gas out. I think Cain goes in, tries to take him down at some point to see how much advantage he has. If he realizes maybe Francis is too strong or it might take too much gas out of him, I think Cain keeps it on the feet, finishes with an uppercut. I think he finishes with an uppercut second round on Francis and just puts him out. Because Francis swings really wide. I think Cain's fast enough. He misses one of those, the ones that put Alistair into space. That misses, ducks under, follows through with an uppercut, cleans him. Absolutely starches him.
Be fun to watch.
But that's also from a guy sitting on his couch watching the fight, not knowing what the hell's going on and doesn't train like these guys. But I think Cain has not lost the talent to knowing how to win.
Yeah, I think Cain does know how to win.
Yeah.
And
there's a talent to know how to win. There's a game plan. You can always have the physical skills. He knows what works.
I think that halfway through this second round, if this fight is still going, it's over. Cain's going to win. I don't think that Francis can win it at any point later than that.
Yeah.
I think it could get out of the second round. I think it could go the distance. I think he could do the same thing Stipe did to him. Francis is going to be looking for someone to stop that, especially a wrestler like Cain.
Yeah.
But I think it could be an outcome.
I like that.
But I think that Cain's going to wrestle him down, tire him out. I think he is going to look to take him into the third or fourth round. But
I like this. 2 different complete views on it.
I definitely see Cain winning. I think Cain will win by stoppage. I don't think it'll be decision. I think that's a possibility. I also think Francis taking his head off in the first round is a possibility.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When you got a guy like Francis.
But I think that's the That's the stopping point. That's halfway through the second round. If it's still going, Cane's already won.
Yeah, I mean, hell, we're all speculating here. I think both views, not being biased on my own, I think your view on that could definitely happen, especially with someone like Cane. You know, a lot of people remember him, you know, like the Nogueira knockout. I love that knockout because the combination, 3 punches in under a second, just absolutely took his head off. But then you have other times where, like we did with Lesnar, gets on top of you, wrestles you down, picks you up. The strength of him with the cardio is just one of the tenacious combinations he has.
Yeah, that Lesnar fight was one of my favorite fights ever to watch because it looked like they were overmatched. It looked like he was just this hulk of a man that was getting manhandled by Cain Velasquez. He's a giant man.
Yeah, but he's not all cut up.
He looks so much smaller.
He
not
didn't
nearly
have
as
traps to his
intimidating.
ears and shit. Yeah, I agree with that.
It was that was a fun one to see.
I like that.
So, any other fights in the heavyweight division coming up that you're interested in?
You know, I mean, there's a lot I want to make. I know I did see something. So I followed this for a while because I watched the Tough with the heavyweights. Ben Rothwell's coming back this year. And I like that because Ben Rothwell was a staple name. He was a different name. You know, yeah, he's a little bit on the older side. He's 37, but he's been off for allegedly getting popped by USADA. We're not even going to get into that. I don't want to talk about any of that. But I think someone like him could bring a lot of new flavor back because let's say he comes back. So he's fighting Aveno, I guess that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Blagney that I've never watched much on. But let's say he comes back and starts him. Then they set up a fight with him. You know, maybe they get Curtis Blades in there against him. Get him somebody that's a top contender because Blades did just come off another loss after, you know, winning several in a row. I don't know. Maybe get somebody like Ben in there after this fight. I like that matchup just because Ben always had knockout power like anybody else. But I don't know. I just like seeing a new face, man. I think that's what it comes down to again with the heavyweight division. You want to see new faces. I mean,
we're talking about a new face for a guy who's 37 years old.
37 years old.
Yeah.
That fought in the UFC. How many years had how many fights? Now,
it is good to get him in there and mix it up, though. And he needs fights now. I mean, he can't be fighting much longer. He's got to make one more run. And
I give you 2 years and he'll retire.
Yeah, he's got to be getting there.
But I mean, let's say even off here, it just fought Junior Dos Santos, which is no picnic at all. So he lost to him in a decision. Wasn't knocked out. Wasn't finished. Look at the backing that Ben's had in his career. Josh Barnett, Mitrione, Overeem, Brandon Vera when he was in the UFC. I mean, Gonzaga. Whether he wins or loses, this guy has fought almost every Mark Hunt, almost Cain.
Yep.
Which that was a tough fight to watch too for Ben. But he has knocked out a lot of serious big time names in the heavyweight, and he's also lost to big names, which would make sense. So I don't know. Seeing somebody like him come back this year, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Besides that, I mean, there's so many matchups that already happened. I like anybody with, you know, Derek Lewis. I like that coming up.
Derek Lewis and Dos Santos.
Dos Santos. I think that's two guys that want to sling the leather. They want to have fun in there. They want to be entertaining. Derek Lewis is almost entertaining, minus the Nagano, which I don't think that was truly his fault. He's going to be entertaining. I always love to see what he says afterwards, too. And Dos Santos coming back, I think, this year. I think he's fresh. He looks good. He's on a mission, and I think he's one of the guys in there that truly believes he can go and get the belt within 2 fights from now. Like 100% if he wins 2 fights from now against Derek Lewis and maybe one more after, he's fighting Stipe or DC this possible year.
And then
but that's all if he wins.
Justin Willis scheduled to fight Curtis Blades.
I like that a lot.
Both of those guys are really on the up and up. I mean, Curtis Blades is just coming off his loss to Francis.
Yeah.
But before that, he was on a big winning streak. Justin Willis is on a big winning streak. So both of them, the winner of that is going to be on the short list of contenders.
Yeah, within forward. 2 fights of going to contender of it. Yep.
So is there anyone in the heavyweight division who's outside of like the top 10 that you think could make a big play in the heavyweight division this year?
Yeah, so I know he talked about it earlier. I mean, he's not outside the top 10, but he's definitely a name that if I put 100 people in a room, I bet you 2 people would know him. And hell, I didn't even know him, is Alexei Olenek, that just tapped out Mark Hunt before.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being is that guy gets a lot of subs, like we said. He could go in there and in 2 fights, he could be the same as Dos Santos, Derek Lewis, anybody else. He could be right up there waiting for a contention. Now, the problem with that is, are those going to be entertaining fights?
For some people.
For
I know
some people,
that.
I love that's what I said earlier. I love a big man that can get in there and choke you out, turn a knee inside out, whatever you want. But is anybody want to watch a guy that's just basically going to ground without the pound for three rounds? Basically, that's what I get at.
Yeah.
I mean,
the heavyweight division is the knock your head off division, and that's what people watch.
People want to see that.
Yeah, and it's great to see the chess match when you have someone who is trying to take a head off and someone who's just trying to get a hold of you.
Yep.
And then work your body and then put you out.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what. I mean, somebody else. Now, I'm not going to get into it because I don't know much of the specifics anymore. Walt Harris did just get popped allegedly for a sample.
Really? Because he's scheduled to fight next March.
Yes,
March.
I don't think anything else is going to go forward with that yet. I haven't heard. I'll be honest with you, I haven't researched it. I know they said that. Walt's another guy that I really like. He was suspended for the CSAC, the CSAC, for the positive, apparently 232 UFC drug test. I don't know where that's gone from there. I hope that doesn't happen because he's entertaining to watch. That would be a guy I'd like to see do well here soon. I don't know. I'd like to see, I know he just fought Andrei Arlovsky. Maybe because Walt's a big dude, maybe get Stefan Struve in there against Walt.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's getting ready to fight, but those are two guys outside the top 10. Struve's getting ready to fight. Let's say Struve wins. Walt wins. Put them two together, then let them go and fight for a top 10, and maybe get a fight after that, win it, go to contention. I mean, that's the thing right now. You win 2 fights in the heavyweight division, top 10 or even 15.
Yeah,
you got a
two
shot.
Top 10 guys.
You got a shot to be on the pedestal real quick.
Just because, who else? They need new faces up there.
Yeah, everybody wants to see it.
In addition to them, I'm thinking
what do you got?
A couple light heavyweights could make a splash in the heavyweight division this year. I mean, Alexander Gustafsson, I'm not sure what else he's going to do at light heavyweight.
Yeah.
He's really freaking good. He's not going to beat John.
I think that's a right size for him.
I think, as I was just saying earlier, that the heavyweight division is not that skilled.
Yeah.
And that he is much more skilled than most of the guys in the top 10 in the heavyweight division.
Hands and the feet, absolutely.
And that he is tall enough that he has a big enough frame, he could get big enough that the size...
He packs on a lot on off-season, they said.
The size wouldn't affect him as much. He does, I mean, he can definitely make the 205, but I don't know what's there for him. He's the best guy. He's going to beat everyone. I think it's not John for now.
What about him and Struve? That'd be kind of sick. 2 big guys.
Yeah, Struve's even bigger.
Well, no, I know Struve's 7 foot, but they're both lean. I mean, Struve's a tall guy, but he's lean for that division. So maybe get 2 tall guys and see. There's something you don't see a lot of. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, I think that Gustafsson could end up moving up to heavyweight now. He's already said he wants to chase that decision loss to DC, and DC's the heavyweight. So that's a tough one for him because I think DC's even better at heavyweight. But John Jones is the other, and I think he could also chase DC. And I think he'd be a really dangerous heavyweight if these guys are not ranked in the top 10 of the heavyweight division right now. But they are both elite fighters. The only other one I see right now is Brock. He's not ranked in the top 10, but if he does come back and fight, it's going to be against someone at the top of the division. It's going to be a big
it's a top
fight. So it'll be noteworthy if he ever does fight. And then the obvious one is Cain Velasquez, right?
Yep.
He's not ranked in the top 10 because he's been inactive for years. But as soon as he comes back and he can maintain healthy status, he is instantly going to be at the top of the division.
Yep. Yeah, this win this weekend, if he possibly does that could be. There's so many options. It's not even funny. Mm-hmm. And here's the deal: do you think the UFC would ever try to pull against the grain and have him and DC fight?
Oh, they might try, but they're not.
They'll never do it. Yeah.
Did you watch any of the UFC 235 press conference with Askren and Woodley?
Yes.
Where
they're like, absolutely not.
I mean, I don't covet my friends' belongings.
And I think that's good because at the end of the day, all that comes down to is money.
Yeah,
they're basically saying, I'm not going to fight my friend for money in a fight name just because you want to.
And Kane's been waiting for years. He'll wait
a
little bit longer.
Yeah, he'll wait a little longer.
Yeah, he'll wait a little bit longer. He as soon as DC's out, he'll make a run for it, and he'll probably get it.
Yeah, I think so. I think I think the belt will stay in that camp for a while. Whether it goes back and forth, I think it's going to stay in that camp.
So let's talk about heavyweight fights that have not been made that we want to see.
Yep. Let's check it out.
The first one I want to see, I know, is a DC and Stipe rematch.
Yep, I agree.
And
I agree.
I think Stipe has done enough as the champion to get his rematch. And like we were saying, I don't think that it makes sense for DC to fight anyone else.
No.
And unless he's chasing millions of dollars against Brock, which whatever, if that's what he wants to do.
And I don't think that's his MO.
But if you look at the top of the division, there's no one who deserves that fight more than Stipe, and I'd love to see the fight again. And if it's another first round knockout, which I'd be surprised if it is, but it could be, then I'll stop talking about it. But I'd love to see that rematch.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's nothing that's going to be dull about that. That's one thing I'll have to say is I can latch on to that fight anytime. You can make that fight as many times. It's not going to be boring. I don't see Stipe. Stipe's never fought boring, whether he goes to decision or not. DC, he dances pretty much well with every partner he can put in there.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to have a situation where he's going to be dull because that's what goes back again in the heavyweight division, man. Yeah, everybody's looking to bounce heads and everybody wants to go in there full brink, but is it going to be an entertaining enough fight to where if it does go 5, is everybody happy with the outcome? Because they could absolutely go to decision. Are they both going to be bloody and battered, though?
Yeah.
You don't know. But I agree. I don't think there's going to be anything to not want to watch there.
Yeah, it seems like Stipe hasn't. The reason we haven't heard about Stipe fight is because he's not going to sign a fight until that rematch comes around.
Which makes sense. He deserves it.
He deserves it. Hey,
why isn't somebody in there, marketing or not, anything, going, hey,
someone's got to be pulling for him.
Okay, Cody and TJ. That fight happened instantly because they said Cody deserves to have that rematch. He was the champ.
Why? He had one fight.
Well,
it was his first title defense.
I think it was because both of them had to go through the fire of the Bantam division. Think about the killers in the Bantam. Both of them went through. Whether TJ's might have looked a little tougher as far as his journey compared to Garbrandt's, they both had to go through absolute fires to get where they're at. And everybody wants to see that fight because they both hate each other tenaciously. To basically say, look, this is a marketable fight. It's entertaining to watch them banter back and forth. And obviously, when they get in the ring, you're not going to be disappointed. And look at it.
They clearly did hate each other. I think that's 100%. That's what gave it.
It was not a fake game.
Yeah.
There was 100% blood that was boiling every time they fought.
That's the reason they got the rematch. It's not because Cody did enough to deserve it. I mean, Cody's a great fighter, but Stipe has done enough to deserve a rematch at the heavyweight division. And he just hasn't gotten it.
Well, let's before we go to the next fight then, so let's say Stipe does get this. Let's say he fights, I'm going to say in July. I'm going to say a fight week in July for that rematch.
Stipe in
DC. Fight week, area, round July. Let's say Stipe loses. What happens with Stipe?
I think he continues fighting. DC's not going to be around for that long.
Yeah.
We know that. So
and Stipe knows that.
So, I mean, if he does lose, then you're getting in line with the rest. Now you're behind Curtis Blades. You got to go fight Alex Volkov. You're taking a step down in your next opponent. You're not getting immediate title shots.
Him and Volkov would be a really interesting fight.
But you're not done, I don't think, if you're Stipe.
No, and I don't at all allude to that. What I'm saying is what fight makes sense for the ex-champ to not just all of a sudden fall off the screen? Like, do they try to make him stay up there and be a highlight fighter that people know, or they just start letting him fight anybody and then hope they can move new guys and replacements? Like you said, because DC will leave. So let's say DC fights somebody, lose or win. There's guys coming up. What's going to be the right matchup for Stipe to stay in the cards?
I think Stipe will stay in the cards.
Do you?
I think he'll be maybe not a main event, but he'll be on the main card of pay-per-view, or he will be the main event of an undercard that's not a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
They still have that marketability where they can he is
the
firefighter.
Dude, he's on the
he is
the Modelo commercials.
Right.
Let's go.
They can throw up the stat most successible consecutive heavyweight title defenses. I mean, they
just keep it moving.
Yeah, they haven't lost that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I think that there'll be options. Even if he loses, he lost twice in a row to DC, who doesn't lose. And DC's retiring soon. He's not going anywhere. I think there'll be plenty of opportunities to give him good fights going forward.
Nice.
What about Kane? Is that one of those fights? Stipe versus Kane.
I like that a lot.
So the reason I want to see this fight is because I think Kane is the best heavyweight ever, and I think Stipe is the most decorated heavyweight in the UFC history, and I think that the winner of that fight might be the best heavyweight ever. So I'd love to see it.
I think that's spot on. I think you haven't seen two fighters, besides DC, obviously, like Kane and Stipe go against each other. It's someone that Stipe's never fought. It's a style that he's fought before. It's a style that Kane's fought before. So really, it's something to just say, hey, let's go in here, throw this leather, see what happens. Plus, the two names. You go in there, you do the regular Stipe. You got Kane now, let's say he beats Francis. That's a huge fight. That's an absolutely monster fight because it's two names that basically anybody you talk to on the street will know at least the name.
And on top of that, you got DC, who took Stipe's belt.
Yep.
Doesn't give him the rematch.
He's fighting his butt, buddy.
Yeah.
Yep.
You say, all right, Kane's not going to fight you.
Come on in.
Yeah, I'll take out your buddy, and then after I beat up him,
Who's
you give me my shot back. You
Yep.
give me a chance. That'll be, I don't know. I'd love that fight. I would love to see that fight.
Well, and Stipe's a good grappler, so going against a wrestler like Kane, there's going to be a lot of body slamming. It's not going to be all punches, but you don't know what could happen with that. That could be another first round knockout, real quick, either side. So I mean, hell, I don't think you can go wrong with that at all.
Next one on my list of wish list fights in the heavyweight division is DC Jones 3.
Yep. At heavyweight.
At heavyweight.
At heavyweight.
Yeah.
Not lightweight.
Yep. At heavyweight. I would love to see Jones chase DC up to heavyweight and take his lunch money from him there as well.
And then that'll really put the last nail in the coffin.
That really would.
That would be the final coffin.
You are the greatest fighter of your generation except for me.
Yep.
I'm better.
Yep. Every time.
Yeah. I want to see that fight. I think it should. I don't want to see it right away. I'd like to see both of them fight other people before then. But that is definitely near on the short list of fights that I want to see in the heavyweight division.
So here's where we have a difference in opinions finally. Yeah. Do I like that fight 100%? In my life right now with everything that's gone on, I don't know if I'm kind of torn if I want to see it. The reason one, if DC was 35-36 right now, absolutely. Jones coming up to heavyweight is also entertaining to me, but I've never seen him at heavyweight. I've never seen him fight other heavyweights besides DC. So that's my thing is, okay, the DC fight might be cool, but then he stays up there, and maybe it's not as entertaining of a Jones fight. Now, I know we're talking about DC and Jones. I'm talking about Jones moving up to heavyweight. If he starts out with DC and beats him, I agree 100%. That's unreal. You'll never question it. You're never going to be able to say he wasn't the greatest of all time. I just have had so much negativity behind those two with all of the drug stuff, the legal issues, the USADA, that it almost takes away from how enjoyable that fight should be. Because I know everybody, which that shouldn't matter, nobody else's opinion should matter, everybody's going to have that little asterisk always in the back of their head and on paper, which pisses me off. And that's why I don't want to see that fight, because I don't want to hear about people again, well, yeah, but, he's always been a cheater, I wonder what he was on this time. That's what sucks. That takes away, personally to me, why that fight isn't as big as it was. If nothing had ever happened, I'd tell him to fight 10 fucking times. But that is what makes me not want to see it, honestly, compared to you. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to pay his $60, but I'm not going to fucking be happy about it.
Yeah, I get that. I get that feeling. Yeah. I understand that. It's unfortunate.
And I don't like it.
But I think a lot of this also has the Dillashaw Garbrandt. I mean, they don't know each other as well as Dillashaw and Garbrandt being on the same team at one point, but they truly do not like each other. And it's strange how it's worked out, because I feel like Jones has the 2 victories. I guess one was overturned, but Jones has the 2 victories. And to me, it feels like Jones wants the 3rd fight more than DC.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that's because I don't know. I think DC is he may be over it, but somehow it's worked out. DC doesn't need that fight as much as I don't know that Jones needs it.
DC does, yeah.
Cannot say that Jones needs it, but it seems Jones to me like the cards are in the wrong hands. But it's interesting.
I think another thing that doesn't help me, and this is a physical thing, is watching them two fight. You have 2 different specimens fighting each other, and then they move up to heavyweight. I don't see the John Jones that I saw 3 or 4 years ago with the spinning back elbows, and I think it's going to be a more physical grappling, fence game, wrestling game, if you do a trilogy at heavyweight, is maybe also why I want to see the swinging, the high kicks, the inside leg kicks, the elbows. I'm worried that even if it's John Jones who does everything under the fucking book, if going up to heavyweight with more weight, different game plan, are you going to lose some of that? Are you not going to get the spinning elbows, the cutting elbows on top of the head, the leg kicks inside, the high kick that finished DC last time? Are you going to miss some of that, and are we just going to have a wrestling sex match at heavyweight? Because we've now gone up 40 fucking pounds. Uh-huh. Even if Jones, what do you think Jones is going to weigh at a heavyweight about? 245 at the most? If he throws on maybe. Muscle and...
Yeah, see, I mean, have you seen pictures of him when he was powerlifting?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Or when he was when he was grappling or he was doing the jiu-jitsu match and didn't care about his diet and he had like a belly out, no cut or nothing.
Well, yeah, I mean, back when he was suspended from the UFC, and he has gotten powerlifting, and I mean, maybe that's when he took stuff that he's getting long-term tablets from. I don't know.
You said it, I didn't.
But he was
deadlifting like 435 with skinny
and I want to
legs.
see what that dude looks like when he fights. So I'd love to see him at heavyweight.
Do you think they can get him meaty for heavyweight instead of like thick? Like, he'll never be DC thick, but I'm saying, like, look at Jones in pictures from past if you're looking at him, and then you add 30 pounds. It's tough to have a six-pack and be Jones cut.
He did, dude.
Oh, God. Could you imagine?
Could
you imagine let's say 240 Jones?
230, 235.
Doesn't even weight cut, because he doesn't need to.
Right, yeah.
Goes in loaded to the gills with hydration and food.
Yeah, I think he could be as dangerous at heavyweight as he is at lightweight. I know for a fact DC's more dangerous at heavyweight than he is at lightweight.
100%.
So.
Well, because he's going with a full tank. He's not cutting anything that bad. He's not worrying about diet. He's training just like he did before. And by the way, he's training with Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, he's got best training
ready?
partners. Yeah, he's great. I saw on your list you got Alexander Volkov and Junior Dos Santos. That's a fight you want to see.
I do. The reason being is because I like Volkov because, again, he's a younger upcomer in the heavyweight division.
He's one of the youngest, I think.
He's fought a lot of fun guys already, and I don't think he would disappoint against somebody like JDS. Now, I kind of want to look at a little bit of his background on some of the fights that he's had, but I think he could be a new heavyweight star that anyone will follow in there because he's in, like when he fought Verdum, and Verdum and them get ready to come out, and he's looking at Verdum and going like this with the hand wave because he knew Verdum was going to come out and do the Travis Brown kick to the face. Like, he's entertaining. Like, he doesn't look scared. We already said it. The Derek Lewis last-second knockout, I guarantee he's having nightmares every night about that.
Oh, my gosh. That's never... ever going to go away. That sucks.
That could be the biggest motivation for him now to come through and run through the division. Because, honestly, until the Derek Lewis fight, he was running through the division.
Plus, the Drago name.
You're
always going to get interest. You can always sell that as
Drago is
the fucking Rocky America versus Russia
Rocky every time.
Oh yeah, and he looks the part, man. I mean, that's the dude in real life.
To be honest, I mean, he's got a lot of I hate keep saying marketable shit, but it is. You don't want just two fat guys that no one knows the name. You got to make them more entertaining in the heavyweight division.
Everyone knows the name Drago.
Everybody knows Drago, dude. Somebody's turned on Rocky IV now, getting a lift in, listening to that soundtrack, and having a good day. It's the same thing if you have him fight. Someone's going to get excited to see a guy named Drago come out at almost 6'7". And the thing is, the dude can throw hands, great on the feet, moving around. He's quick off the toes. He kind of reminds me of Travis Brown before he switched up his wide stance where he was real light on his feet. Plus, same thing is he pressures you. I mean, okay, before Derek Lewis, Fabricio Verdum knocked him out. Stefan Struve knocked him out. Roy Nelson, he had a decision. And Johnson. Okay, so you're fighting guys that any punch is going to take you to the moon like anybody else in the heavyweight. But he went toe-to-toe with them. I mean, the guy's already fought. I mean, if he was fighting, people super over the hill, I mean, yeah, Struve's always dangerous.
So Junior Dos Santos, that's the matchup?
So going back to that, I like that because JDS has been looking really good lately. I've been watching his Snapchat. He's training hard. He's looking lean. His last fight I liked a lot. I think that's a new blood fight that somebody hasn't seen. It's two taller guys. They both like to throw the hands.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good striking match.
I think it's a good striking match, which I think obviously everybody wants to see, let alone they've never fought. So more reason for me to want to see him fight.
I guess the America versus Russia thing doesn't work there, but
It doesn't work there.
But he does.
Brasilia versus Russia. I mean, if you're into that, I mean, whatever you want to do. But no, I mean, I think too, Bam Bam getting knocked out by Junior Dos Santos here recently. Bam Bam was coming up the list, knocking people out, was getting all crazy. He's kind of like the new age Mark Hunt, a little bit fatter, doesn't care. But
way fat.
Way fatter. Yeah, that gut's bad, dude. But he's coming up. Junior knocks him out. So now Junior's back in the contention to start getting some fun fights. Volkov's coming up, knocks out Verdum, which Verdum we know is on the end of his career, which, whatever. But then goes to Derek Lewis, loses to him. Perfect timing. You got one guy that hasn't fought in a while that lost a couple big fights, who had a belt at one time, going against a new up-and-comer who's going for the belt. I think it's a great matchup.
So right now, Dos Santos is scheduled to fight Derek Lewis on March 10th.
Yes.
But, depending on how that fight goes,
Yep.
especially if he beats Lewis,
Yeah.
I think this would be a fun fight to watch.
And that's going to be an entertaining fight in itself, just because Lewis is always entertaining.
So the last one I got on my list is Jones and Stipe. I know we've talked about both these guys enough already. The reason I wanted to talk, I'd like to watch this fight is when Jones just beat DC before that fight was overturned.
The high leg kick.
You remember when he was crying afterwards?
Yeah. Interview him right after he got knocked out. Good decision.
Jones called out Brock Lesnar, and he said, "You want to feel what it feels to get beat up by someone who weighs like 40 pounds less than you." Later that week, he was doing some interviews and had said that, someone had asked him, why Brock Lesnar? Why not Stipe? Why not just go for the belt? And he had said that Stipe presented some unique challenges for him that he hadn't worked through yet, and that he was more comfortable with the Brock Lesnar fight at this point.
Which is very interesting to say.
I'd like to see him just go ahead and fight Stipe.
I think so.
Attack those challenges.
Something different.
Yeah.
Hit him head on.
Yeah, and this is another opportunity for Stipe, I think, where if Stipe can get the best of Jones, then how does DC deny him that rematch?
That's true.
I think it's a good thing for both people, or the opportunity is there for both people. Like I said, if Stipe wins it, then I think DC has to give him the rematch. I think if Jones wins it, then it's anything you can do, I can do.
And see what happens.
That's so a good point. I think that is a very interesting fight, and I'd love to see that one made. Again, I'd like to see Jones fight a few more people at light heavyweight before that fight ever takes place.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't think that's a jump right in the pond type of situation, but that definitely needs to happen. Yeah, I like that a lot. Stipe, Jones, two completely different fighters than they've seen recently. So, yeah. Plus the overall, just again, they never fought. That's the most intriguing thing to me. I love seeing guys that have never fought.
Yeah, something new.
And you can start, not only starting something new a lot of times, you can start a new trend to where it's like, oh, hey, this fight was actually really nice. If I see a guy that's got this same stylistic, let's do this again. So, nice.
All right,
Yeah, good stuff.
I guess we'll keep up with the heavyweight division. I just want to know, who you think will be the heavyweight champion on January 1st, 2020?
Yep, I like it. So, we all know that I've been a huge Anthony Smith fan with this lightweight coming up, but I do think John Jones will probably end up beating him just because of his talent, which leads me into your question. I think John Jones will hold that belt at some point in 2020. Now, do I think that should happen? Does it depend on everything else? But I don't know. I think you brought up a good point earlier. Jones is on a burning fire type of mentality right now that he wants to get up into heavyweight and say, look, I'm a little dude. I've been down here killing everybody here. I can come up here and do the same thing. I think what you just said, Jones comes up, somehow fights Stipe, whether it's for the belt or to get into the belt contention. I think January 1st, 2020, Jones holds that belt. Yeah, even if Stipe regains it, I think Jones holds that belt.
I think that DC will have the belt on January 1st, 2020.
Still hold it?
And he will lose it very closely, or very soon after that.
To John Jones?
That's what I think. I think that...
Which you'd probably be very right.
DC will be waiting out for a little bit longer. I think he will fight at least twice more, probably twice more. If he fights Brock Lesnar, I see him winning.
Yep.
He's not losing the belt there. I would love to see a rematch with Stipe. I think he could very well win that. So let's say he wins if he fights twice this year, maybe it's Brock and Stipe. I think he could win them both. If he ends up fighting John, I think John will win. I think John's so good. So let's say
I've never heard you say that. I've never heard you say that John's that good. It's the first time, man.
Yeah, this is a new thing for me.
I was gonna say you've never been a component for John or anything.
But
just obviously.
Let's say this all happens quicker.
Okay.
John's the fight.
It's March.
John's the
We're in
fight in
March
July.
here.
Let's say John's the fight in July.
Okay.
And John comes up and beats him. I don't think DC faces him for a fourth time. Yeah, I think he's done at that point, and that's why I don't think that's the fight. But I think if that fight happens, then I think Kane fights John.
Oh, jeez.
And then I don't know if John's the champion, because I think that John is as good as anyone in the heavyweight division, except maybe a healthy Kane. And I think a healthy Kane
that's a different beast.
is the next future the next champion of the heavyweight going forward.
Okay. I like that because I wanted to play a devil's advocate, because I know I said this to you earlier. I think this, on the other end, I don't think it's going to happen, but I know I said Jones going. Let's say Jones comes up to heavyweight and miraculously does not do well. Let's say he loses to DC, he loses to Stipe, he loses to Kane, and then all of a sudden Jones is not even in the contention to really do anything in the heavyweight division. Then I think Stipe on January 1st gets his belt back.
Yeah,
because
he's the next best guy.
I think he comes in. I say he fights. Let's say Jones at some point.
All right, let me turn this on your head.
All right.
Let's say the scenario is Jones does not come up to heavyweight.
Period.
Then go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think Stipe takes it back.
Okay.
I think Stipe gets a second or possibly third trilogy, which I don't think a third. I don't think we have enough time. I don't think there's going to be that.
Plus, it wouldn't be a trilogy at that point.
What do you mean? Well, no, if it back to back. I'm saying Stipe fights him, wins the belt, then wins it again.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Rematch followed by trilogy.
Yeah, like early 2020, he gets a trilogy with DC because he beat him, so they're 1-1.
Okay.
I think if Jones is not in the contention and by some miraculous way Kane does not have a successful year, I think it falls back to Stipe.
Okay.
Again, all speculation from two guys that sit on the couch in basketball shorts watching fights. Okay? But that's just my opinion, because I want to see the guys that deserve it get it. I don't want to see a Derek Lewis Volkov ending fight. I want to see somebody that dominates, made a statement, said this is my fight, much like DC does.
Yeah, I think Stipe will have it again. I don't think it'll be January 1st.
It's going to be 21.
It'll be some other time. Some other time.
All right. I'm down with that. I like that.
Let's move on to the light heavyweight division.
I like this. This is a fun division right now.
And you really can't talk about it much without John Jones.
Let's start again. I know you're a huge component.
So, John Jones is great.
Yes.
He's one of the greatest. To me, I don't know that anyone's ever going to be able to be the greatest, because Anderson Silva, even with losses that he could stack up at the end of his career, I don't think I'm ever going to admit to anyone that Anderson Silva is not the greatest.
No.
But you cannot deny what John Jones has done. He's pretty much never ever lost.
Yep.
He's beaten the best, and by some accounts, while not trying too hard.
At least looking like he wasn't trying hard, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I think that he's so important to MMA because he's so good, or to UFC even in more particular. But I also think he's been hurtful.
Yeah.
And all that's been self-deprecating.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm curious how you feel about his legacy, specifically how recent events, they just had to move his last card from Vegas to LA or to California because he couldn't get licensed in Vegas in time because he had a positive test. And everyone's saying it's okay that he has a positive test. How does all of that affect the way you feel about him?
Yeah, so this goes back. I mean, one, watching John Jones growing up, and obviously I got to see a lot of his live fights when he was in his prime. I missed a lot of live ones. Overall, this is just a gifted man that was made for this sport. He makes it entertaining. Yes, has there been a lot of things in the past that have hindered his visibility to the public, myself, anything else? I think recently, with the testing and the moving and all of that, they are trying to keep this golden goose Willy Wonka egg as clean as they can, because everybody's like, we cannot let this crack again. If we have one more bad thing with John Jones that's out loud in front of everybody, we're never going to get this opportunity again. They had him come back. You had the finish over DC. You still had the complications. You had him not be able to train.
Hell, it was one of the complications. I mean, it was, the fight was overturned.
It was overturned. He's training in his garage waiting to be able to train back at Jackson Wink. But you got a guy that has probably about 80% of the marketability as Conor McGregor for fights in several divisions. So they don't want to risk anything. Now, do I think the way it looked to the public moving that fight and the persona of John's legacy didn't help? But I don't think right now anybody's sitting around going, that's super fucked up. I don't think John Jones should fight at all this year. I think 90% of fans, whether they know John Jones or they just know the name, they want to see him fight. And they want to see what he can do, because he's 31. He's got a ton of time left. He's already done insane amount of legacy and wins, from all the way back in the Matt Hamill days with the 12-6 elbow, which he shouldn't have had that overturned, to knocking out guys that were the scariest guys in the divisions and making them look like kids. So,
or just dropping Lyoto Machida.
Just
looks
standing
lifeless.
choke.
Oh my goodness.
I love going around and just doing a fake standing Machida with friends. You're just like, could you just realize how intense that is? This is the highest level fighters ever, and you choked out a guy that most of the time was either kicking people's teeth in the air or doing crazy high kicks, and you just choked him out and said, hey, I think he might be out.
Yeah,
All right, I'm going to let him go.
Just drop his lifeless body to the ground.
Now, I mean, with me, man, I hope all well for John Jones now and for his career. I don't want anyone else pissing on what he's already pissed on himself, but I honestly think this is the last hurrah. No more fuck-ups. Everything's got to be as clean as possible, and if I think it, and I don't want to use the word clean, I think smooth, no bumps in the road. He walks through the light heavyweight forever, and then he moves to heavyweight and does well, and then he goes out exactly what you think, one of the greatest fighters or the greatest fighter of all time.
Yeah, like you said, it certainly can't help. The having to move everyone else's, all these other fighters, all these fans, that's a lot bad look. Yeah, it costs a lot of people a lot of money because the taxes in Vegas are not the same as in California. I mean, it's
people's hotel rooms, flights.
It's a big
rental
deal.
Cars.
Big deal. It's not good.
Was it needed?
I don't know.
Honestly,
it's on the people who are making the decisions. I guess you have to preemptively, inform them on these things that may happen because they've experienced with other sports, but with other fighters or other athletes in other sports. But the idea of it all just sucks. It's he has these things. They got in there somehow.
Oh yeah.
I mean, no matter how they got in, they got in there.
They're in there.
And the fact that telling them ahead of time that hey, they'll show up, but it's okay. It's tough.
And with John's past, that's the thing. If this is anybody else, you're going, this is strange, but they obviously know what they're doing. Anything that involves any testing, and you include John Jones's name, going back to what I said earlier, man, it sucks. The negativity has fucked so much good that could go into with the John Jones in general.
Yeah, I think...
And I love the guy. I love watching him fight. I love everything else. I hate the negativity because people fuck up. But we put a label and we always keep that asterisk in the back of our mind because we're human. So in turn, you're never not going to think about the past with John Jones. Yeah. Just like you're never not going to think about, the girl that bashed the girl's knee in on the skating back in the Lipinski and everything. You're never not going to think about her hiring somebody to take a pipe to another girl's leg so she can win.
She is.
Just think of that. You're never not going to think about that when you bring that name up.
Yeah, I think that this last instance
what a fucking connection.
Probably didn't do that much damage.
I don't.
Compared to he had to, because of that bullshit, and he had to move UFC 233 for everyone.
No.
I think that there's gonna be people who don't care at all. There's people who don't give him a chance at all. Yeah. I think most people,
which is reality.
Yeah, and I think that most people are gonna say that it happened, even if it did.
Yeah.
The fact that he's voluntarily, well, I guess voluntarily, submitted himself to now a third testing agency, and all of these testing agencies are going to, it's all public knowledge, his results, gives me some hope.
Yeah.
I think that's all good moves, but it's just, it is what it is.
Yeah,
I don't think that any more of these positive tests, all of the scientists have come out and said that it's not a big deal, that he's shown that these things are showing up, and that these low levels of these long-term metabolites don't have any kind of positive effect on his current performance. So I think that's about all that needs to be said on that.
Yeah. Well, that stuff's so technical, and you again, like anything else, you don't ever know what you can believe.
Yeah, you got to take their word for it, because I'm not doing it.
Because I'm sure as hell not smart enough to do it. Hell.
All right, so
man,
tonight or this next pay-per-view, John Jones is fighting against Lionheart.
Oh, my buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go through that, because I know we are both excited to watch that fight. Why are you excited to watch it?
So number one is I've followed Anthony Smith for a long time. I followed him back from his amateur days. I don't know why I did. I think I just latched on because I liked his style of fighting. Maybe it was the tats. Maybe it was the Lionheart name.
Lionheart's
badass name. He's got a chest tat with a lion on it. Pretty cool. I'm probably not ballsy enough to do that, but no, I think the big thing that's cool about this is Anthony Smith come up from middleweight, which, everybody gave him shit, and then a lot of people got...
He's a huge middleweight,
He's a huge fucking middleweight, and I think that's what people were trying to get at in the beginning. Santos, inside liver kicked him, dropped him, he lost it, and Santos is a vicious middleweight. But I think also is he...
Fucked up Victor Lombard?
He fucked up Victor Lombard. I think he realized that this is the right weight class for me. I'm coming in. I'm fighting these big guys. Now, look, I'm not going to be biased with him. He got to the contender belt really quick. The reason why, who the fuck else is going to fight John Jones if it ain't DC? There's no one else that's Jones or DC haven't demolished. Gustafson's had his chance twice. It's just, you had to put new blood in, and here's the deal. Okay? I don't care what you say about Shogun. Yeah, he's later in his career. Shogun is still somebody that you cannot underestimate. Okay, yeah, Rashad Evans was basically a commentator. He still was somebody at one time that was murdering people and just, could take your lights out. And then you got somebody that is coming up that's a new name. It's obvious. He's going to win some bigger fights, and then give him a chance. And guess what? If he fucks up and gets starched by Jones, then you can say, are bad. It's an entertaining fight. He's passionate. He doesn't talk a lot of shit. He's very just about his job. And then you have someone completely opposite like John Jones, which you already know what he's done. It's a matchup we haven't seen. I will admit, I think probably Anthony needed one more fight at lightweight. But again, who's he going to fight? Is he going to fight? You got Volcom that he
just fought Volcom.
So I mean, where are you going to have after that?
He just knocked out Rashad. He knocked out Shogun. So those are two older guys.
We'll give you that. But right. Volcon's up and
so then who else do you put him up against? You put him up against Volcom, and then he beats him. And it wasn't the knockout. It was a good fight, and he was winning the whole fight, and then he finished it with a submission. I mean, it was a good fight. I am a big Lionheart fan. He is fun to watch. Yeah. But I don't know who else you put him up against. I mean, unless it's Gustafsson, but at that point, who is John fighting?
Well, that's what I'm saying is if you don't have him fight John, you're not going to have anyone fighting John. You're going to be waiting, and you're going to have
Gus. He needs to be the next contender.
Well, then here's this problem we have. Okay, so John fights Anthony, or Gustafsson fights Anthony. Fucks Anthony up or wins.
Yeah,
however,
then
we got Gustafsson right back in, and then guess what people are going to say? Then what are we doing? They have to line up the entertaining fights.
Yeah, that is the best title fight right now at the light heavyweight division.
Only other fight I could have seen him going against is maybe Corey Anderson, because Corey's been on a 3-win streak since he got head kicked by OSP.
Right, but the people Corey's fought in the last 3 are not as good as the people that
maybe Ilir Latifi, but
Ilir Latifi also has not been really doing well in the last 2 years either. I mean, I honestly think that would have been the only fight that would have made sense to say, okay, you know what? Go fight Corey Anderson to fight a guy that's similarly stylistic to John Jones as far as size.
That's the only other one to make. Yeah. But I had no problem with Lionheart. And the other thing is, Lionheart's had a ton of fights.
Oh, yeah, he's been around a long time.
Yeah, there's a lot. He's got a lot of experience. I don't think John's going to overwhelm him. I think that he's just going to be better than him. Well, so I see John winning this fight.
I definitely see John having the lead like always, but I also think when you have a guy that has nothing to lose, like Anthony Smith has nothing to lose here, he's going to go for broke, but not reckless. Anthony's never been reckless, but when he finds his opportunity, like the knee to Rashad, like the knockout to Volcom, Shogun, getting him in the corner and dropping 15 bombs on him and then finishing him out, he knows when to wait. Problem is, John Jones is something that it doesn't matter what you train for, you don't know what you're going to get.
He has everything in the book.
He's a Rubik's Cube, man. You can turn him 700 different ways. He's going to have a different color. I'm sorry. He's going to show you something different.
That is another reason why I'm excited to watch this fight, is because I just feel like we have not seen enough John Jones.
Yeah.
So another fight that's coming up that we are both interested in watching is Volkan Oezdemir is fighting Dominic Reyes.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah, because that's got a lot of... Well, let's talk about Volcom with his record and his back here lately. Going in, and then we'll get into Dominic, because Dominic's a new upcomer. So you got Volcom that obviously lost to DC, which, okay, that's a huge fight for that young man. He was coming up. He knocked out, Jimmy Manawa, and, he had the decision over in St. Preux coming in. Then he loses to Anthony, like we just said. Right. So he's coming off 2 back-to-back losses, and he's still trying to get into a contender series. What better to fight a guy that's a little bit lower than you coming up, who's been putting in the work? I mean, hell, what's Dominic on? A 7-8 fight winning streak right now?
Well, he's 9-0.
Okay, so he's undefeated. Yeah. I mean, I know those are amateur fights, so he's 5 or 6-0.
9-0 professional fights. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
how long
outside the
UFC.
organization. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sorry, not amateur. Outside of the UFC.
I'm not sure how many. It looks like maybe his last 4 have been in the UFC.
Okay. Yeah. So, but he's got an over in St. Preux win there. Canner, that's another young guy coming up. That was a TK on him. Okay, so you got a young guy that's coming up that's definitely got good contention. He's undefeated. What better? You got a guy that is I wouldn't say Volcon's a knockout artist. I'd say he just...
No time. I'd say he is. I think he throws heavy hands.
He throws heavy hands, but I think since the DC loss in Anthony, he's definitely going to switch up his style. He's not going to get gassed out one. I mean, but how sick was it after the DC loss? He's in there punching a bag, still training. Because he's like, I got to figure out how to be better. So that's my point.
That was a
mauling.
Lopsided fight, man.
But think about that. That's only more motivation, especially then he loses to Anthony, who's now
fighting. I was surprised he got
that
title shot so quick. I thought that was quicker than Anthony Smith.
When he knocked out Jimmy Manawa, which Jimmy Manawa was a scary guy, and unfortunately I like Jimmy a lot. Jimmy's falling on some hard times right now. He's not getting the normal respect, and he's not winning the fights that he should.
Yeah, I think that Volkan got too much credit for a knockout over Manawa in less than a minute.
Yes.
And that vaulted him up
now you look at
Manawa.
Well, think if Manawa lost what he's lost lately, and then Volkan does it, he doesn't get that. But it was an entertaining fight on paper. As always, there's no MMA math. You see what you see. So I think with losing to Cormier, which is huge motivation to learn that, hey, there is levels to this shit. Then we go in with Anthony Smith, lose to him on a sub. That sucks. Never had that happen here recently. Now I'm going to go face a completely different beast, which is an up-and-comer who undefeated, who definitely within 2 more wins could be in the top 3. Yeah. He could be fighting Anthony Smith, win or loss to John Jones here soon.
Right. Yeah, that's the last 2 fighters we've mentioned are Volkan and Anthony Smith. And in 2017, Volkan just shot up through the ranks. And
which happens.
Last year, Anthony Smith just shot up through the ranks. And I think Dominic Reyes could be that fighter this year. If he beats Volkan, he is going to just... He's the next undefeated young guy.
Yeah.
I don't know
He'll be top 5. He'll be 5.
I don't know if John Jones is the next fighter, but he gets a top 5 fight the next time, and after that, he fights for the title.
What if he fights Ian? What if he fights Ian Blachowicz?
Yeah, depending on how that fight with Santos goes.
Yeah, that's true.
I
know.
I think there's a lot of opportunities for Dominic Reyes to be the next guy at the middleweight division, or not the middleweight division, light heavyweight division.
Yep.
He is the undefeated, so you can always throw that in the promotion.
Yeah, that's huge. He's a new face, like you said, so it's easily to get people latched on. They're like, this is a cool guy to watch.
And that's why I like to see this fight with Volkan, because he was the guy 2 years ago. Reyes is going to be the guy this year, I think. And it hurts to see Volkan take his third loss in a row.
Yeah.
If Reyes does win that, I think Volkan is just a knockout artist. I really do.
Yeah.
I think that if he's not knocking you out, it's going to be tough for him to win. He does have some decision victories, but it's
which that's going to happen in the light and heavyweight.
Right. But I think this is a great fight, and I think that this either gets Volkan back on his feet, ready to go at the top division, or it just
cut.
I hope not cut.
No, I would hope not either.
Or it vaults Dominic Reyes right up there. So the winner of this is sitting pretty.
Okay, I like that.
What about fights that have not been made yet that you'd like to see made in this division?
Yeah. I put on there earlier when I was looking just to myself is with the Santos Dominic Reyes. I like that.
So that's after this fight? That's assuming
a
Reyes win?
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking. The reason I like that is because I've always liked Thiago Santos just for his tenacity. He everything's bombs, hammer fist, in your face, all of that. Dominic, like I said, is kind of a tacticianer, man. I don't think he's really got a label yet because he is what we talked about in the beginning. He's an upcoming fighter that is young, that had to learn so many different things. He's got to have so many different parts of his game. I watched a lot of his highlights from when he was in his first couple pro-ams and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's got a lot of first-round victories
coming into this. He's got a lot of first-round victories, yeah.
But I'm not sure the competition. I mean, he won by decision over OSP, and then before that, it's a first-round TKO, first-round submission, first-round TKO, first-round KO.
Yep.
So he's got knockout power, and he's been winning.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, being undefeated and on this tear. So, yeah, 100%. He beats Volcom. He's not going to fight. He might, you know how it is sometimes in the matchups. They don't always fight going up the ranks. They fight who's available. It's Joey Diaz. So who's available today? He's available today. That's what it basically comes down to is who is available today that's healthy, that's ready to fight. So if he beats Volcom, who's even above Santos in the ratings, I think they might still line that up just because Santos is on a 4-win winning streak. Granted, he obviously had some middleweight fight before that. I think that's an entertaining fight because, like I said, Santos always steps forward. He's either going to get...
They're both looking for knockouts.
They're looking for knockouts.
Yeah.
And Santos is either going to come for your head or have his own taken. And Dominic, he's knockout artist, but I think he's smart.
Yeah, I don't hate this fight because Santos is smaller.
Yes.
But he's so much more experienced. And he's also looking he's also looking for the knockout. This guy, he's a younger guy, he's a little bit bigger, he's going to be a little bit more athletic, but it'll be interesting to see both looking for the knockout. Maybe smaller but older, more experienced guy versus the younger guy.
And maybe Tank, too. He might have a better gas tank of that. Now, granted, he's been around, like you said, but experienced. Dominic's only had 4 fights, now going on 5 in the UFC. Santos has had very many more. Granted, a lot of them are middleweight, but he had to used to cut a lot of weight for middleweight. Like most middleweighters are 205ers.
Oh, yeah. They weigh well over 205.
They're lucky to get down to that. But if they move up to that 205 and they keep the power, they keep the size, they keep the gas tank, someone like Santos, again, I know I've said it over and over again, 3-4 fights from now, if he wins in that type of lineups, he could be in contention. So I like a fight like that because it's a younger guy versus a seasoned guy. They're both looking to take a chin off. Why not?
I like that fight.
Why not? So,
and we really struggled to come up with any other fights we wanted to see that
aren't already done.
Yeah, there's some fights scheduled. There's people who have already fought, and I guess my thing is, I just want to see John Jones fight all of these guys.
You just basically want to see Jones run through the lightweight even more than he already has.
He hasn't. That's the thing. He's sat out so much. right now, DC is the number 1 contender according to the UFC's
Yeah, they
listing.
have to keep that in there.
Number 2, Gustafsson. Beat him twice.
He's out.
Anthony Smith.
If he beats him here,
he's
he's
scheduled
gone.
to fight him.
I don't see Ian.
He has
coming
not
up.
fought Blachowicz. He's never fought Uzdemir. He's never fought Corey Anderson. He's never fought Thiago Santos. He's never fought Dominic Reyes. He's never fought Latifi. I don't think he's fought Jimmy Manua. We're through 10 now.
What I'm saying is this is a new lightweight division of new names. He's just going to run through it again like he did back in 2008, 9, 10.
I think that's the responsible thing for him to do. If he wants to move up to heavyweight,
make a name.
And it was the division it was years ago when he was the champion. That's fine. Move up to heavyweight right now. But right now in this division,
he's so young.
You have beaten the top 2 contenders multiple times and no one else.
Yep.
You need to beat the top 5 guys. You need to beat the top 6 or 7, and then go chase heavyweight and say I'm also the best at that.
By the way, I've cleaned this up. There's no one else that wants to fight. Well, and that's
why I want to see John Jones wait before he goes up to heavyweight because the division is new to him.
Oh yeah,
I feel
at 31.
Robbed of years of being able to watch John Jones fight because he's been suspended for this reason or that, and I just want to see what I've been missing out on.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him fight 3-4 times a year for the next 2 years.
Well, yeah, like you said, right now, all top 10 guys he can fight that he's never fought, or if they have fought, it's going to be an entertaining fight. Clears through them. I don't see many new lightweights coming in that are going to make a splash and be a name in 2 years. So give him 2 years. He's now 33, demolishes this division like he always does. Then move up to heavyweight. Move up to heavyweight when you want to stop cutting weight. You're getting older. You want to go and do something different.
Unless you just want to take everything DC
I know,
ever had.
but that's the thing is you can't always go off that. He's chasing the DC, just putting you in the dirt and no one ever know about your name. People are always going to remember fucking DC.
They'll remember
whether you like DC or not.
They'll remember him for always losing to Jones.
Always Jones. I beat you on cocaine. I beat you after
cocaine.
Oh my
God, Michael Johnson was losing his shit. Yeah. That was so funny.
But that's the thing it is truthful. He did shit that you can never say you did.
Yeah.
You didn't beat me. Even if the paper or the fucking drug test or anything else, I beat you.
Every time.
Every fucking time.
So let's keep that up. Is there anyone else who's not in the top 10 who you see doing something in the light heavyweight division this year?
I do. Johnny Walker.
Yeah?
I think Johnny Walker has enough screws loose, one. I mean, the dude's crazy, but he's entertaining crazy.
In a badass name, I heard his name was Walker Johnny. And he changed it because he likes being called Johnny instead of Walker.
I like that.
Johnny Walker.
I like that. No, I think the reason I say this is that this most recent and look, man, we've got on this like Anthony Smith. He's the new hot dude. I'm biased because I like him. He come up. Anthony could never be a name heard of again. Dominic Reyes is making a run. He could come up and never be heard again. I think Johnny comes in and continues to have these highlight fights. Like Justin Ledet is no fucking picnic when it comes. Justin Ledet at one point was undefeated in the lightweight, and he was hurting people bad. To knock him out with a spinning back fist and then to just absolutely put his head through the mat with one punch ever, and then starting the fight, he had his arms on the back of the cage, just like this, waiting to start. This guy's got a whole nother atmosphere he's bringing.
He's down to fight, that's for sure.
He's down to
and
fight.
Before that, he knocked out Khalil Roundtree. I think Johnny Walker is going to make a splash in the light heavyweight division this year.
And he's going to need some more fights because he's going to need to face some people.
Well, he's getting them. He wants to fight a lot.
Santos is another one.
He's stepping in right now. He on short notice against Misha Serkinov. Owen St. Preux had to drop out, and he is stepping in on 4 or 5 weeks notice, something like that.
He's had some injuries going on here, man. I worry because OSP is not getting any younger. And I love to watch him fight.
I love
to watch him fight.
He has good submissions.
Yes. Oh, yeah, the Von Flue choke. It should be called the Von OSP choke, man. Come on.
That's his move.
But it's the guy's always entertaining to watch. But, yes, that stepping in, again, this gives him a platform to, if he wins that fight, he's going to fucking fly up the rankings. Because Misha
He's fun, man, too. He's fun.
Well,
he's always dancing.
Yes, he's always dancing, smiling. He's got those haircuts that are always kind of fucking awkward, but Yeah, I mean, he's going to fight a guy that, he just dabbled in. He's going to dabble into the ranks. Misha, I don't know where to really go on it. He beat Cummings, Durkin, as they call him. I was never really impressed with him. I don't think he was high level. So if Misha beats a guy like Johnny Walker, who just came up and got this unreal fight, that could push Misha way up too. So both of these guys got a lot on the fucking line here with this fight. I mean, honestly, they really do.
Other than that, I mean, some guy I was excited just because of all the hype when he came into the light heavyweight division of the UFC is Gokhan Saki.
All right.
Gokhan, first of all, because of his name.
Yep, which is
straight
sick.
Dragon Ball Z style. But also just his boxing history is so
That's
story.
high
I mean,
level. That's high level.
he's greatness. He's such an awarded kickboxer, and he's 1-2 in MMA.
Yep.
And I feel like he needed to take some time in other promotions before he came to the UFC to adapt his game to MMA. Do you think he ever is a ranked fighter in the light heavyweight division in the UFC?
He could be. I know you brought up Khalil. A loss to Khalil like that. Khalil's a dangerous guy in that division. I think if he can get in and realize what his game works better, whether it's implementing more kickboxing, more maybe a tie clinch, maybe getting those guys inside, beating their legs up and keeping them from throwing bombs at him. I don't know because I have not seen enough of him, whether UFC or not. I've not seen enough of this style of fight where you got to have every type of fighting skill. You come from kickboxing alone, that's vicious enough. But you come in here where somebody can turn your neck in a neck crank, your knee inside out, finish you with a spinning move that you're not allowed to do. I think you give him one more fight against a guy that's a low contender and he gets confidence up and cleans him up. Maybe he could be. But it's a little too early for me personally to think, is he going to have a chance, is he not? I can't call that.
Yeah.
Because Khalil's a dangerous guy, but Khalil also is a guy that is gotten beat several times by guys possibly he should have beaten. So you can't go off of that. And, his first fight that he had in the UFC, he had a KO. That's awesome. That's first fight. You gotta get a little behind on your wheels. So who knows? Maybe the next guy he fights, maybe he's a little bit under Khalil. He absolutely cleans him up, starches him, or does something fun. But I think it's a game plan for him more than anything, especially in the lightweight, man.
I do too. I think it's game plan. I think it's coaching. I think that he clearly has knockout ability. I mean, we've both watched the knockouts.
Yeah.
He can light you up.
He's got as much hammer behind his hands.
But he's got to figure out how to make it work for MMA. So the potential's there, but it's
not
too
the
early
youngest
to
guy
tell.
ever. I mean, he's in his prime at 35, but 3 years in the UFC in the lightweight division, that could be 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know that he's ever going to get up there to title contention, but I'd love to see him get.
There's a lot of killers to go through, but you never know, man. You get momentum.
Let's see. I guess I'd like to mention his name, Ryan Bader. We just saw him win the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix. He is the current Bellator light heavyweight champion.
Yep.
Light heavyweight. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yep.
And he is either a free agent or has one fight left on his contract.
Yeah, I think he's a free agent after the Fedor.
He is. I feel like the UFC could really use some guy like this. We've talked about all of the new faces that we'd love to see in the light heavyweight or the heavyweight divisions, and he is currently the title holder for both divisions in Bellator.
Yeah, which is huge.
My understanding is he's happy at Bellator. He's not interested in making any changes there.
He's gotten paid well there. He's gotten the respect. I mean, I got to give Coker a lot of respect he gives to his fighters. He takes care of them. I mean, for people that don't know, Bader came from the UFC, did a lot of big things in the UFC, besides getting knocked out, by Machida there on that running punch. Guy knocked out a lot of big-time names and then moved over, and I think one of the big reasons is that was a transition in the lightweight division when you had John Jones. You had a lot of things happening to where maybe he wasn't getting the respect or the money that he thought he deserved, and he went over to Bellator, and they're like, hey, we're going to take good care of you. By the way, he gave it back by winning the lightweight title, by winning the Grand Prix.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're going against a weathered Fedor or not, it's fucking Fedor. It doesn't matter if I have a 1997 Ford Ranger or this new 2019 Ranger. If I get hit by it, I'm going to get hurt. It's the same thing with Fedor. Is he could have easily knocked out Ryan Bader. Ryan Bader is probably at the top of his career right now at 35 than I've ever seen him. He looked better in that fight than I've ever seen him. And good for him.
And that's why I want to bring him up, is because I'd love to see him in matchups. A rematch against John Jones. He had lost to him previously in his career.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him in the heavyweight division. I think he's way more skilled than a lot of fighters in the heavyweight division in the UFC. And though I don't think he's going to leave Bellator, let's say
something bad happens.
I don't know. I would love to see a situation where there's some cross-promotional fight with champion versus champion, because
which we never know could happen. It could happen.
That's worth it. You look at all the fighters, like, who the hell does John Jones fight next? Ryan Bader. If he's there, it's Ryan Bader.
100%.
Based up, I mean, if he's on the list, that's the one you pick. I mean,
I agree with that a lot.
So I'd love to see. I'd love to see something like that. I don't know. It's a possibility, but I'm going to keep continuing to watch Ryan Bader and how he performs in both light heavyweight and heavyweight, because I think even at the end of his career, he could come back into the UFC and make a splash in the heavyweight division as well.
Well, and that's the problem is I wish we were able to say, yes, we can have that happen with the cross promotions, you know, how they used to do back in the day. It could get to that point. I really hope it does, because I think it benefits everybody, because, one, the fans.
It's getting closer.
It's definitely going to give fights that 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, you couldn't have. Same time is you don't want to let guys pass their prime. Let's think about this. Fedor never fought in the UFC. It was probably good he didn't, because it might have hurt his legacy even more. But you pull a fighter from the UFC and say, hey, do you want to fight Fedor when he was 36 instead of right now when he's in his 40s?
He was 30, hell.
Or even back in the Pride days. But I'm saying even when he came over and fought here, you know, when he was in Strikeforce and then he went to Bellator, he's had some tough goes because Father Time caught up, let alone the guy's been through some absolute wars. Take advantage of guys in their prime when you can. Ryan Bader, absolute prime right now. Let's get somebody from the lightweight, John Jones, perfect. Have him fight him cross-promotion. Okay, win or lose whoever else. Let's use an example, a template that this can work. Do this in other divisions. Have fucking Michael Chandler from Bellator at lightweight fight Conor McGregor here, or have him fight Khabib. Have him fight somebody else to where somebody that may never get to fight that person gets the chance, so we don't miss out on it.
On a championship level, I think that makes sense.
Championship level, not just for no reason.
Right, there's so much money to be made that I would love to see them try and do that. That would be great.
But, I mean, I know it's in our topic. With Ryan Bader, that's the thing that sucks for me, is Ryan was in the UFC, did great, had the opportunity to leave. Bellator treated him well. He's done great at Bellator. He's a hell of a fighter. I think he's going to probably be maybe one of the top 10 greatest lightweights of all time when he finishes his career. But now being a free agent, I would love for the UFC to say, let's pony up. Let's give this guy a 3-fight.
Who's better to spend money on? What are your two thinnest divisions?
Lightweight and heavyweight. That we just talked about.
Who's this guy over here that's champion of his organization in both those divisions?
Yep.
Who was a tough champion?
Tough champion. Tough 8. Well, I mean,
bring him back.
Yeah. You're not.
I'd love to see him spend money. I don't think they're going to. I think that he's plenty happy at Bellator, but I would love to see them make a stab at it.
The UFC has so many fighters on the roster. What are they, almost at 700 fighters on the
something
roster? Something like that.
It's crazy.
Compared to Bellator, and the Bellator bankroll is going to realize we have to take our giant ponies up top and pay them well, and then everybody else below we need to make incentives. With the UFC, this is our way or the highway, but just remember you're here with the biggest name, and that's not a knock to UFC. That has to be that way. That's business. The problem is we miss out on guys like Ryan Bader to come to UFC.
Or Ben Askren until now.
That's huge.
Yeah,
buddy.
So one last topic on the light heavyweight division.
Yep.
Who do you think is light heavyweight champion in the beginning of 2020?
Oh gosh. I think in an unpractical dream world, Anthony Smith holds on to the belt after beating John Jones here, which is not going to happen. So John Jones beats Anthony Smith, keeps his belt, fights one more time, somebody for the belt, continues it in
Yeah.
to January to that 2020.
I think John Jones will
and I
fight.
hate keep bringing up his name this much for both divisions,
Yeah.
but it's just reality from the past.
Yeah, I think John Jones will fight at least 2 or 3 top light heavyweight contenders this year, and that he will win them all. And I think he'll be the champion.
Yeah,
I think at the end of 2019, going into 2020 is when he's going to be looking at moving up to heavyweight. But I think he's going to spend this year at light heavyweight showing his dominance.
Yes, and then the thing is, we can't speculate because we don't. There's a lot of light heavyweight fights coming up. But let's say he just beat Gustafsson. Now he beats Anthony. Who's he going to fight next? Ian. I'm sorry, Ian is nowhere close to Anthony Smith's level.
Yeah, Dominic Reyes shooting through the through the rankings could be up there, but I mean, he's going to have to.
He could fight Dominic and Johnny Walker by the end of the year, depending on how the UFC does lineups.
Right.
And the thing is, the UFC right now is not about rankings. They're not about the name and your flashiness. They want something that's going to be entertaining, and both the Dominic and Johnny are going to be very entertaining to watch. So, perfect.
All right, so let's switch directions here. And let's start going over some fights that have already happened this year. The first one we're going to talk about is Donald Cerrone and Alex Hernandez.
My boy, Cowboy.
I'm going to take a piss, so you can tell everyone how much you love Donald Cerrone.
Perfect. That sounds great. We'll see you in a bit. Make sure to wash your hands. So Donald Cerrone's always been one of my favorite fighters. I've followed him for a long time. I actually followed him back in his WEC days when he used to be on, the bus, getting picked up by the guys that used to have the MMA show from Tap Out, for some of you that know that. So I watched him there, always just, being a country guy, I always liked just his style. I thought he just always brought so much to the sport. He's always entertaining. There's never a fight that you're not going to think that he's going to be enjoyable at. And I'm super ecstatic and stoked that he come back to lightweight, where I think he should have stayed for a long time. I think he thought and took a chance to go to welterweight, and he did a lot of success there, man. I mean, he had a really, really good run there. I think his size advantage was hindered there compared to when it is in lightweight, where he's just a bigger guy, stronger guy at lightweight because he cuts that weight. He's always looked emaciated, but he's just so fucking tough at lightweight. Welterweight, I think the toughness doesn't matter when you're going against guys like we lost against Darren Till. I mean, Till is just a monster welterweight. Masvidal, he's a monster welterweight, which he's getting ready to fight Masvidal. Darren is. Did you flush? Yeah. Just talking about Donald, I think Donald did something that a lot of people never talk about, is he took a chance to go to welterweight because that weight cut's tough, and it was tough for a long time, but he always wanted to be that lightweight because Jackson Winklejohn said, I want you to be my 55er, and he was. I was talking about when he was back, when the Tap Out show was out, Mask, when they used to go to all the fighters, and they would go to these upcoming fighters. The guy that on Tap Out, he always had his face all painted with all the paint and stuff from Tap Out, who created Tap Out. He just died a couple years ago in a car crash. R.I.P. to that guy. He was a really nice guy. One of the episodes was Donald Cerrone's upcoming fight, and this was when Cerrone was coming up the ranks. He was young. But my point is, I think he took a risk going to welterweight thinking he could smash some guys because he's not cutting as much weight. And then you think of a Darren Till, like I'm saying, Masvidal. Those are losses. Yeah. When he was in lightweight, he was bigger than those guys. He's had a lot of fun. I mean, he went against Barboza, beat Barboza. Even Jim Miller. Nothing crazy about Miller, but back then Miller was nobody to fuck with. Dos Santos, that sucked that he lost to him, but he's fighting these big guys. I think he's back where he needs to be.
I kind of felt like Dana forced him up to welterweight.
And he might have, because I think he was afraid that Donald was not going to make weight, which would make him look bad.
But did he ever not make weight?
I don't believe so. I don't think he ever officially didn't make weight. Don't quote me on that. I'm sure there might be somebody at home, the 7 viewers we're listening to are probably yelling at me, but I don't think that Donald ever didn't make weight. But if you ever looked at Donald's cuts, he was always emaciated because he doesn't have a lot of muscle on him. So when he's cutting everything on him. But this last cut against Alexander Hernandez, which I watched Alexander Hernandez from the moment that he took that 2-week fight against Daniil Haresh. That's a dangerous kid. He's young. He's hungry.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a fuck. He talks his mouth off. Donald, though, showed that experience and overall just knowing the game and what to do. He just was patient.
Yeah, I love watching.
Yeah,
Cowboy
we
fight.
could talk about Cowboy for an entire fucking podcast.
I love watching him fight. Whether he wins or loses, it's always a good fight.
Yeah, you're never bored.
So where do you think Cowboy goes from here?
So we all know that in the the rumors that him and Conor, I'm going to take that out. I'm going to say that fight doesn't happen. I think for making something interesting with him and somebody that is available today, we need somebody that is available. I think someone that would be nasty, depending on if he wants to stay around. Actually, two people. I think either Justin Gaethje or Anthony Pettis. Now, granted, I know Anthony's moving up right now, but
Yeah.
I think as far as an entertainment fight, which that's all Cowboy's about. Now, granted, Cowboy's flipped a switch. He wants to go towards that belt, which I couldn't be happier because I did worry there for a while. Is this just going to be a guy that's going to fight till he's 39, kind of like the Juggernaut that fought in welterweight, that just retired, that Mike Perry knocked out? That's been around forever. I'm losing train of thought right now.
Mike Perry just fought.
Oh, jeez. And I'm sure people are like, what the fuck? You should know this. But my point about it is Cerrone could have stayed at welterweight or been cut and just been another name that people were sick and tired of watching. Jake Ellenberger. God, I'm fucking retarded. Jake Ellenberger has been around forever. You don't want Donald Cerrone to turn into a Jake Ellenberger because, one, he's entertaining as shit, and two, you want to see him fight these entertaining fights instead of guys that are way bigger than him. So I'm saying, honestly, depending on what Gaethje does here coming up, because he just knocked out Vic, he's got a fight coming up here, what do you think about that? Or who do you think
Honestly,
in the lightweight that makes sense?
Both of those guys you just mentioned, Pettis and Gaethje, I would love to see a fight against Cerrone with. I'm praying that
And Cerrone's lost to Pettis before, leg kick to the liver, so there's a lot of back blood.
I'm praying that the Conor Cowboy fight happens.
Oh, that's
what I
all.
want to see.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to see that for a while
Yeah,
now.
and I only pull away from that because you know how it is with all of that is you don't know. But yes, number one, I want that fight 100%. But the reason I say Gaethje is a backup, so he's already fought Barboza. He's beat Barboza. Let's say Gaethje goes in, and Barboza's getting to the end of his career. He's probably 4 or 5 fights, possibly until he may retire, depending on how long he wants to fight. But he could be like a Vitor Belfort and want to fight for the rest of his fucking life. But if Gaethje beats him, I think Gaethje's brawling style, to where I don't care if I'm just knocked out to high heaven or I knock someone else out, to Cerrone's entertainment level, you can't go wrong there either. Pettis is probably my third just because Pettis is entertaining every time too. You mix him with a high-level entertainer like that.
Yeah.
Cerrone coming back to lightweight, there's just so many options.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Gaethje would want to fight him. I think Gaethje is wanting to fight like the top contender.
Yeah, he wants to go for the belt.
But we'll see how this fight coming up with him goes. I mean, Edson Barboza is dangerous.
Well, what if you do this? What if you go another way and say, okay, Kevin Lee's been having a tough fucking run. Let's let Cowboy go at him. Yeah, he's ranked, top 10, but let's put Cowboy in with Kevin Lee. Let's have a fight we haven't seen.
Yeah, I'd like to see Kevin Lee fight too.
And I don't say I feel bad for Kevin Lee. I think Kevin Lee has just gone through a gauntlet. I mean, Tony Ferguson, Edson Barboza, and then Al LaQuinta on a decision that could have went either way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that guy's definitely in contention to do something wild. Barboza's on a 2-win streak, so he beats Gaethje. Fuck, let's bring Barboza back and let's do Cerrone again. I mean, but yeah, I agree with you. I think Gaethje's next ploy, he probably wants to fight Al. I think he wants to go after Al.
Yeah, he wants to go up top.
Yeah.
As far as Cerrone goes,
let's get back to that. Sorry.
I'd love to see Conor, but I think either Pettis or Gaethje coming off of their current fights would be a fantastic fight as well.
Perfect.
Also on that same card, Paige Van Zandt defeated Rachel Ostovich.
Yep.
What did you think about that fight?
So, one, I'm glad that Paige moved up to flyweight, because that cut before at Straw was tough. I mean, 115 for a woman, I don't care how small you are, that's tight. 125 I think is perfect for her. Rachel, I watched her when she was on Tough. I forget what season. I think it was the recent 26-27. She's talented. She's a bigger girl for that area. On a side note, she went into that fight right after this domestic violence with her ex-husband, so I'm sure that's weighing on her. Paige, just came out with a book, talking about her tough upbringing and stuff. So she had a lot of motivation. Paige looked great. She looked smooth. That submission was quick. I mean, she popped her arm.
She did look good. She looked as good as I've seen in a while.
She's looked smooth, and I think that's one.
Actually, both these girls look good.
Yeah. Let's be honest. Let's be real honest. Yeah, that's as pretty as you're going to get on a matchup. But yeah, I would say with Van Sant is one, she found her weight class. She needs to stay here. Now the problem is in that type of weight class for her, you're going to move up, and you're going to have some killers.
I think he's ranked 15 right now, so he's very, very bottom of the ranked fighters.
Came up, and that's okay. And she's young. I mean, Paige is, 26? So,
24, yeah.
Yeah, so 24, oh my gosh, yeah. So she's coming up. She might next maybe fight Montana De La Rosa, who just won. Maybe gets to fight somebody in the top 10, maybe just because of her record, because some other girls have lost here.
I think
but
more of her name.
Her name more than anything.
Like,
yeah, she's a pretty girl. She's got a great personality. She's obviously knows how to fight. Rachel, I think, honestly, is Rachel's game plan was not ready for that game. I don't know about the domestic background. That's not my place to talk about it, but that's definitely weighing on your mind. You're on the same card as Greg Hardy, who just was accused of that a couple years ago, even though she acted cool about it. I think Paige come back, this is a redemption fight. I think she said, hey, I was in the wrong weight class, cutting too much weight. I've cleared my head. I got married. I'm ready to go. She's young. She's hungry. I think Paige here, if she keeps her momentum, she could be a great star for the UFC in the flyweight because she's pretty. She's at the right weight class. And she does a lot of cool things. She does switch kicks. She gets in submissions.
Yeah, she's fun to watch.
She gets on your back.
Yeah.
She
maybe
does
not always
shit.
the smartest things, but they're fun to watch.
But the thing is taking risk in this sport is what makes it fun. If everybody played the safe plan, we wouldn't be fucking talking about this right now.
I don't want to watch Derek
Nobody
Lewis and
wants
Francis
Derek.
every time.
Thanks for bringing it up. But no, it's honestly where it's at. So I think Paige has got away. Rachel could bounce back, but I think Rachel gets cut by the end of the year.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay. So Joseph Benavidez
Oh my gosh.
beat Dustin Ortiz on that card.
Yeah.
Dustin Ortiz was very soon after released by the UFC, so it looks like the UFC is working towards getting rid of that flyweight
That flyweight division's getting thin quick.
Benavidez is the last person to beat
contention.
Henry Cejudo, I think.
Yep. Who now
And
is
he's the number 2 contender, and I think that as soon as Henry Cejudo and TJ Dillashaw figure out whatever the hell
it's
they're
on
doing,
with Benavidez.
Benavidez gets that next title
Yeah,
shot.
and I think rightfully so. I think Benavidez has made his time, taken his time. I think he's gone through the ropes. I mean, the guy's had some big wins. Obviously, he beat Henry Cejudo almost 3 years ago. Yeah, I like that. I think he looked really smooth. He looked fast. Dustin Ortiz is another guy too that's no pony walk when you're fighting in flyweight. All these guys are so fast, so quick. So he's still fighting top contenders. So he definitely deserves that fight. I'm with you. I definitely think as soon as the TJ Cejudo stuff gets lined out, win, loss, indifferent, get him in there. Let's get a flyweight fucking fight going. I'd love to see a change of belt again at flyweight because maybe that'll keep that division around.
Maybe there's some interest.
It'll keep it around because
right.
I think that's the thing right now is people. It was a double-edged sword. DJ, in my mind, greatest flyweight of all time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It sucks he moved to one championship. You know why it sucks? Because he didn't get the respect. And Dana White will even say that. But here's the problem. Everybody was so used to, DJ's fighting this weekend. Well, here comes the belt again until Henry did it.
Yeah,
but then
it was a big upset.
I don't think people jump on liking Henry because he's a little awkward. He doesn't have the greatest stage presence to talk to people. He's maybe not the flashiest in the ring. Whether or not with this TJ stuff, which we'll talk about here later, this last fight, he's maybe not the flashiest in the ring. So it's hard to get really excited about him. But
he's Olympic gold medalist.
He's Olympic gold medalist. He's got a lot of he's got a lot of good marks on his record.
Yeah.
Get him in there with someone like Benavidez, who is exciting, who is fast. Maybe we'll get that flyweight division looking good.
That's the next title fight that needs to happen.
Yeah, I like that. Dude, we gotta get to your boy, man.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about your boy because I like him too. He loves the fish. That's all I care about.
Right. So Gregor Gillespie beat Yancy Medeiros on that same card, and I think he looks like he could be great. There's nothing I've seen in him that made me think anyone he's fought had a chance at beating him.
No. Very confident.
In the lightweight division, though, right now, there's a bunch of
There's
fucking
killers.
good. Yeah, there's a bunch of good fighters.
Yep.
And they're all busy.
Yep. They're all busy. Yeah, that's
they've all got fights scheduled.
Yep.
Personally would love to see Gregor Gillespie fight Kevin Lee.
I like that.
Kevin Lee has been calling out
everyone
that's not ranked. He's been talking with Michael Johnson. He's been talking about Islam Makhachev.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many top 10 fighters in the lightweight division right now who have fights scheduled. Kevin Lee is coming off of 3 consecutive losses, but he's ranked in the top 5.
Yes.
Three fights against 3 great fighters, but I'd love to see him fight Gregor Gillespie and see if Gregor Gillespie's for real, because everyone seems to think Kevin Lee is for real.
Kevin could be great, and Kevin can also be a forgotten fighter.
We haven't seen a whole lot from him. He was looking good against lower competition, but when he got up to the top of the competition, he's not looking. I mean, he had that staph infection that sucks against Tony Ferguson.
You can't stay on that. Now, he looked phenomenal. His next fight that he had after that.
No, he lost to Edson Barbosa.
No, he did, but he looked good out the gate because he didn't have the staph. He was faster. He had a good weight cut. But again, like you just said, he lost. And then the Alaquinta, that could win either way.
It was a close fight.
But I think, Kevin, that's the problem, is everything's so close. He looks so good, but he doesn't finish. That's my point.
Yeah, so Gregor Gillespie, I think, is...
I like that, though.
He needs to be given an opportunity to be a star.
He's earned his place.
He's coming off of wins. A lot of them are finishes. And I think that if he fights several times this year, 2 or 3 times this year, that he's going to be climbing up that lightweight division quickly.
Fuck, I'd love to see him and Cerrone, even though it doesn't make sense. That'd be an entertaining fight.
I don't know that it does make sense right now. But
no, it doesn't make sense. I would just, in general, just as a fan, would think that would be better.
Both of those guys I love watching.
Fuck.
He's a wrestler. He'll beat up on you. But I think him and Kevin Lee is the fight to make. I would love to see that.
Here's the thing. You take all 15 names, put them on a board, close your eyes, and throw 2 darts. Whatever 2 fighters you hit in lightweight and welterweight, it's going to be fun.
That's the way.
Yep.
All right, so the next fight on that card was Greg Hardy.
Oh, man.
Greg Hardy fought Alan Crowder.
Yep.
And
for anyone that doesn't know Greg Hardy was an ex-NFL player, very successful NFL player for the Dallas Cowboys, who was unfortunately released and had a lot of legal issues, and they were dropped, but with domestic violence, possible drugs, possible guns.
Enough issues that he's no longer in the NFL.
Yes. So let's start there. One, what's your thoughts on the fight in general, before they even touch gloves?
I thought it was not a great fight. I thought that before they touched gloves. Before they touched gloves.
Yeah, before it even happened.
My only concern was, why is this on the main, like the
co-main
event of a main card? I knew, just from the fact that Greg Hardy had been in the NFL very recently, that there's no way that he's got the skill levels to be on a main card, and that's what it felt like. It felt like you were watching guys who were professional fighters, then you watch these guys who were learning how to fight. And they're great. I mean, they're professional fighters at this point. They're good enough to get paid to fight, but it didn't belong on the main card.
Yeah,
and they were just using his name to get people to watch, which was unfortunate, but you can't blame them for that.
It's another risk that could have went really well. Greg Hardy coming in and absolutely starched him, and the next thing you know, Greg Hardy's fighting a top 10 guy. But that's the chances you take. But I agree with you. I don't ever think that should have been a co-main event. I think that should have been the last fight on the prelims. That's it.
So
I don't even think it should have made the main card.
No, it should have been the co-main event in the prelims. They wanted to have Cerrone as that to get people to watch on the prelims, and then
that makes sense too. I just think nowhere near.
It did not deserve the spot it got. No. But once the fight started, you're able to tell that they are not at the same level as the other people we were watching. I mean, he's got serious power. He's a huge human being. He's a professional athlete. Has been for years. And he's been very successful at it. He's been knocking people out, but on lower competition.
Yeah, Dana White's Contender Series.
At this point, he looks good for the beginning of the fight, and then you could tell he was visibly gassed. If you didn't see the fight, he ended the fight with an illegal knee that got him disqualified, so that's the loss.
Sucks.
really have a lot of heartburn about that. I mean, he's very new to fighting.
Yeah, and I think that's too. Is he surely may have not known that was illegal, and he might have not looked down for a hand
I think
on the
it's
ground.
more a heat of the moment.
He
kind
was.
of thing.
It was. I just got to go.
Yeah,
and
right.
it just was bad timing.
I think he knew he was getting tired and was looking for ways to finish it, and he's new to fighting. So overall, it was not that entertaining of a fight.
Yeah,
I think that Greg Hardy will get another chance. Alan Crowder got the win, so he'll probably get another chance, and hopefully they'll both get better and work their way up, and maybe we'll see him again. But I would hope that Greg Hardy's not on any main cards here coming up.
Yeah, stay on the prelims.
And then the main event of that card was Henry Cejudo and TJ Dillashaw, and that was a super fight, right? So you got TJ Dillashaw coming down to challenge at 125. Henry Cejudo is the only flyweight champion besides Demetrius Johnson, who is no longer with the UFC. And it lasted, was it less than a minute?
Less than a minute. Yeah. I want to get, obviously, your thoughts on that. Yeah, it was 33.
33 seconds.
33 seconds. Yeah, I want to get your perspective on that, and obviously we'll jump in because this is a big chunk to talk about because this precedes and sets up a lot of things moving forward this year because got a division that's possibly in trouble that maybe never being around again in the UFC alone. You got another division that there's a lot of killers and a lot of opportunities. So
that was the talk going into this fight, was that this is TJ Dillashaw was being sent down to the 125-pound division to kill it.
Yep.
That he was going to go down there, he's going to cut weight, drop 10 pounds, and say, hey, it's not that big a deal. There's no point in having this 125-pound division. We'll just stop it at 135.
Yeah.
And then Henry Cejudo knocked his lights out.
Yep.
I guess he didn't knock his lights out. He was not knocked out.
Did you hear his interview kind of talking about what he said happened to him?
I had heard him say that he got caught behind the ear. He was wobbly. Equilibrium was messed up.
He was there, but he couldn't get everything together.
Not knocked out, but his feet were not underneath him.
Which sounds like what happens when you get knocked out.
Well, the thing is, everyone's complaining about the early stoppage, which you could have let him keep fighting a little bit longer. I didn't think that at any point TJ was in damage or in danger of taking
too much damage.
A severe amount of damage. The other thing is, these dudes weigh 125 pounds. Yeah. It's not like you got heavyweights wailing on each other after he's been knocked down.
You're not going to let Francis Ngannou hit you 12 times.
So TJ was knocked down multiple times in that 30 seconds.
Yeah.
He had been taken off of his feet. If that happens in a heavyweight fight, then I agree with the stoppage right there. But at 125 pounds, I think you let it go a little bit longer. That said, he'd been knocked down several times in 30 seconds. I didn't have, watching it live, I didn't have a lot of heartburn about the stoppage. I was disappointed with the fight because I wanted to see the fight.
Yeah. And a longer fight.
Yeah, but I didn't think it was a terribly premature stoppage. I guess moving forward, it seems like they're going to run it back.
Yeah.
And they'll probably run it back at 135 pounds, which is fine. I'd rather see that than another one at 125 pounds. But either way, I feel like it's kind of... Both divisions right now have clear number one contenders who have a very good argument for taking the title shot.
100%.
You have Marlon Moraes and Joseph Benavidez. Marlon Moraes has been just running through people since his first fight in the UFC against Rafael Assuncio. And then Joseph Benavidez is the last person to beat Henry Cejudo and hasn't lost since, and has just won his last fight. So I on the same card, actually. So I think that I would like to see this rematch, but I'd personally like to see them both go defend their belt first and then decide on a rematch.
Stay in your division.
TJ seems to be where he's so lost that he needs to have this rematch right now. He's not going to sign any other fights until he gets this rematch.
Yeah.
But I would like to see them both defend their belts first.
It's kind of an obsession for TJ, which I can't blame him because, I you know me. I started out from the tough year with him and Garbrandt season to the issues with the alpha male camp and everything. I really was on TJ's side. Then I listened more to him and Dwayne Ludwig from interviews and everything. I see it both sides, and I feel like TJ has put in the effort. He has put in the time that he deserves to, get even a rematch, even though that happened. But at the same time, we have to think about the flyweight division here at one point, is what's going to be the best for it to stay around. So we need this rematch to happen as soon as possible. have both of these fighters go in there, hopefully at least get a minute longer where we can get a lot more swings in. I'm very similar to you. I don't think it was the earliest stoppage I've ever seen. I also think that you have to put into account, like you said, these are flyweights. This is also a championship belt. I don't think you let someone go out on their sword, but you also make sure that the person is absolutely not going to be able to finish and is in an unfinished
is taking damage that they're not defending from.
If I can't defend myself or I'm looking like I don't know where I am longer than normal, I think it's going to be a situation where you have to just make that call. And I think the referee saw that coming and maybe preemptively went in earlier because Henry said it. He goes, if he wanted 15 more punches in the head, I was waiting on it.
I got him right here.
I got him right here, man. And that's the thing. You got to remember, Cejudo's a bigger guy for that division. Olympic wrestler. He's stronger. He looked thick as fuck.
Yeah.
He looked really
And
good
his
in
head,
shape.
man.
Very big head. He's got a noggin on him, man. But maybe that's what helps him. But, yeah, you can't cut the weight out of your head. But TJ obviously has phenomenal nutritionists. I listened to him talk about the stuff they're doing. Hell, I could talk about that for days. But the shreddingness and just the preparation he made, I get why he's so upset that it happened that quick.
Yeah.
This is fucking fighting, man. You can train for 9 months, be absolutely unreal, and you go out there. How many guys do you think trained 9 months for Anderson Silva and then were finished fucking under a round? Chris Lieben, who probably thought that he could take any punch in the world and then look like he was a drunk guy at a bar getting beat up by a UFC fighter. I mean, that's what it looked like. First time ever UFC fighter.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is, again, I go both ways. I want to see this fight happen again. Honestly, I agree with you. I think they go and defend their belts.
I don't think they will.
I'd
love to see that happen.
I'd love to see that, but here's what I think happens. You fucking let them go at it. I'd actually like to see Cejudo beat him again just so there's no speculation. Early stoppage or not, I did it again, bitch.
I'd love to see him come up to 135 and take the belt.
And then come and take his fucking belt again. Yeah, you want to tell me it's too early? Well, I think that's
That'd be damn impressive because that bantamweight division.
That bantamweight is nothing but murderers, and the problem is there's more and more young up and comers in that division. So, you got that coming up, and I mean, TJ and Cejudo too. Whether they win or lose, these guys are going to be around in both divisions for a while.
Mm-hmm. So that wraps up the first fight card that was ever on ESPN Plus,
which was. I'm a big fan. Like I said, no plug-in for him, but I was really impressed with it. Not having to record the fights like on Fight Pass, or not on Fight Pass.
Oh, yeah, it's really convenient.
It's very convenient. So, Fight Pass, they record them for you also. That's how they got them on ESPN Plus. I don't have to worry about ESPN recording that shit. It's nice. So
yeah, you
we'll
can
be
start
doing
them
that
late,
later.
You can start them whenever.
Yeah.
So February 2nd there was a card.
Yeah,
UFC
buddy.
on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, I watched this.
The first fight you want to talk about was Said Nurmagomedov against Ricardo Ramos.
Yeah, Nurmagomedov, man, I was very impressed with. Again, another flyweight fighter. Ricardo Ramos, I've watched him for a while. Love the mustache too, man. He's got that porn mustache. Go ahead. But I liked his quickness and speed, but Said really overwhelmed him and was prepared. And something that I noticed is Said walked him down, but then did not continue to walk him down. He'd walk him down, put in his shots, and move away. And I think as smooth as he looked against a seasoned guy like Ramos, who's been around for a while, I mean, he's kind of a mild veteran. I think Said, let alone having the Nurmagomedov bloodline behind him, I think he's got, if that flyweight division stays around, or fuck.
Yeah, I think he moves up to bantamweight.
Move up to bantam and then really fuck some people up because at the end of the day, it's not a big cut for him. He made an easy cut for that. That could be a name that sticks out.
Yeah, and I think it's easier to make a name in bantamweight too. So
100%.
I think that'll
100%.
be what happens. After that fight, Damian Maia defeated Lyman Good in the first round, and I was happy to see that.
Yes.
It's been a little bit since we've seen Damian Maia successful.
Yeah.
But he's so fun to watch.
Well, and he's been put through the gauntlet in that welterweight division.
He's been fighting the top contenders.
Yeah.
So it was good to see
41.
that. And Lyman Good, I
wasn't very impressed.
Yeah, I was not impressed. You got to know that you cannot let Damian get a hold of you.
Anything. You don't get him a hold of your pinky, let alone get a hold of your back on a standing guillotine, man.
Yeah, he finished him in 2.5 minutes, and that's all she wrote. And I think that moving forward,
or standing rear.
Damian Maia is a great gatekeeper.
That's a good way to put
I think
that. I like
that he's old, but he still has not. He's clearly not lost his
Still
jiu-jitsu
dangerous.
skills.
Yeah, you don't lose that.
Yeah. So if you look at his previous few fights, the last 3 people to beat him are the champion, number 1, and number 2 contenders in the division.
Usman and Colby Covington.
Right. He's the guy that if you're able to beat Damian Maia, you should be an immediate contender talks.
100%.
And he's a good test for anyone because he's a specialist. Like we were talking about at the very beginning of the episode, where you don't see too many of them anymore, where they are absolute specialists at a particular
They don't do
art.
anything wrong.
And it's fun to see that. He's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he got that win, and I think that he will get some meaningful fights moving forward. I think that he will see some guys on their way up. He'll turn some of them back down, and some of them will get through, and they'll become the contenders.
Yeah, I think the nice thing is you feel good for one of the guys that's always, the underdog. He's probably been an underdog for a long time here. But, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of guys that are coming up. I mean, hell, fucking put him in there with Alex Oliveira. Alex Oliveira is crazy and just throws wild stuff, but maybe put that in there with him just to make an entertaining fight for him.
He's not the most interesting fun guy for casual fans to watch because he is always looking to get a hold of someone
tactical.
and slow it down.
Yep.
But I love to see how other fighters deal with that because
Exactly.
they
What gets shut down?
really respect his jiu-jitsu, and you could tell his fight with Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley is a dangerous fighter. He would not come near him.
No.
He didn't want
He's patient.
any part of that. Yeah, he's beatable, but it's fun to watch.
Yep. Nice.
So after that fight, we saw Jose Aldo again.
Yeah.
And he looked fantastic.
Yes.
We got a stoppage victory against Renato Moicano, who looked to be the next contender at that division.
The next T-City.
And yeah, Jose Aldo shut it down.
Yeah.
So what's next for both those guys?
Yeah, so Jose's looking sharp, man. Like I said, I'm never going to say Jose's ever going to look like he was in the WEC days and the original Jose that we always saw just doing crazy shit, flying knees to, when he knocked out Cub Swanson back in WEC. But I definitely think Jose now, I don't know if he goes and fights Max again. I think they give him somebody else top 5 that's up and coming, but I don't know who, because what I'd love to see, and this is just me as a fan, I'd love to see Zabit beat Jeremy Stevens and then fight Jose Aldo. But I don't know if that's too big a jump because Zabit's so new and he's an upcomer right now. And again, featherweight's another one of those killer divisions. You don't talk about it enough because you don't think about it. But honestly, maybe you just match up Jose versus Ortega.
That's mine. I think
it makes
that's the way to
sense.
go.
It makes sense
Because I think that this fight showed us that there are serious levels to this division. Max is a step above everyone. As far as we know, Jose and Brian Ortega are just below him because they have not lost to anyone else.
Exactly.
Then you have Frankie, who beats everyone not named Jose Aldo or Brian Ortega. He's beaten everyone else, and then you have the rest of the division.
and got fucked up by both of them.
So I think that the next move for Jose Aldo is against Brian Ortega.
Yeah.
Because what else is the move for Brian Ortega?
He's not going to go down.
Yeah, he knocked out Frankie Edgar. No one's ever done that.
He knocked out Frankie and then went to go fight Max.
They're not, based on that fight with Max, he's not getting a rematch.
No,
he doesn't deserve a rematch right now.
No.
He needs to go fight someone else, and I think that fight should be Jose Aldo. I think those two are on a level on their own in the division, just behind Max and just above Frankie.
And they trade back and forth.
I think before either of them gets another fight at Max, that's the fight to make.
Well, and the crazy thing about it is no matter what happens, if Jose, the only reason I said Jose maybe doesn't fight T-City right out the ranks is because he had so much fucked upness between the Aldo and then losing the Max a couple times. But like you said, those three are on their own level. Everyone below them, Frankie Edgar, Father Time caught up, unfortunately, I believe. He's still entertaining to fight.
Who's he losing to?
Well, that's my point. But neither one of them two are going to fight Frankie, and then Renato just got fucked up.
I think Frankie's next fight is against Max. I think what's the next fight for Max? You've got to give him Frankie. Who else are you going to give him? I think...
No, that's my point, is have Aldo fight T-City. Whoever wins in that goes fights Max again. So you either have a trilogy of Jose or you have a
a back-to-back.
I think while that's happening, Frankie's fighting Max because there's no other contender for Max.
Yeah, but man, the problem with that is, whether on paper or in reality, I think Max fucks Frankie up worse than he did Ortega.
I think Max fucks up everyone.
That's inevitable. That's inevitable. I don't see Max Holloway.
You have to give him someone to fight, though.
I don't think. Oh, absolutely.
I guess that's not where we are in the conversation.
But here's the deal: he just fought in December. This is not even March, so he's got 2-3 months to chill. He could very
well take off some time.
So that's my only point: is on money-wise, paper, and entertainment. Jose and Brian, absolutely. I don't even know why I didn't even think of that.
That's the fight to make. I think that's the only fight to make.
That fight is available today. Once that happens, you either have a trilogy or you have
the rematch.
Yep. So those are both entertaining too. Now let's go on the other end. What does Renato do?
I think Moicano,
does he take a huge hit?
Moicano he gets back in line. You look back at his losses too, and it's like Frankie. He's lost to Jose Aldo, and he's lost to Brian Ortega.
Yeah.
And it's tough, but he's got to get behind Jeremy Stevens, who's coming off victories, who's about to fight Zabit. Yeah. I mean, the winner of that fight's going to be looking pretty. So,
and Jeremy's right behind Renata, and Zabit's obviously lower on the rankings because he hasn't been around that long.
I
if
think
he wins, he's up to number 7 or 6, honestly. And Jeremy might drop down below top 10 because Jeremy is coming off a loss to Jose. And, that Josh Emmett win, he knocked him out, but, that could have went either way also.
Yeah.
So, he's fighting guys that all it takes is one punch. So nobody, besides Max, like we said, is just standing above everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody is a swing away in this division. Because featherweight, you forget about how many killers are in there. You really do.
Yeah, I think Moicano, you got to sit back and wait and see what happens with this Jeremy Stevens fight. And maybe go after him. You go down much further than that, he just beat Cub.
I'm sorry, man. I know you love Cub. Cub's on his way out. Cub's, granted,
he's old.
He's Brian Ortega, Edgar, and Marcano all beat him. 2 of them with subs.
Yeah.
Those are tough contenders. But if he loses one more, I just think that time is past, even though he's only 34.
Maybe Yair coming back up.
Yeah, because Yair's always entertaining. Yair's kind of the cowboy.
Renato and Yair would
He's
be
the
fun
Mexican
fight.
cowboy of the featherweight division, man. I'll be honest, I really do. But just last thing on Moicano, Renata that I want to say, that was the first time I saw a fighter kind of like how Yair was when they came up, and they go, "Oh wow, there really is levels of this shit that people have been telling me." Because that fight with Jose, you could see on his face when he was getting overwhelmed, and Jose was just catching with punches just to keep him where he wanted. Everything behind it. He goes, "No, stay here." He realized, "Oh fuck, there is definitely guys that are above me right now."
Yeah, and
because he thought he was untouchable. He's a young kid.
Oh yeah, and Jose Aldo is not as old as I thought he was.
No, Jose, dude. I know he wants to retire. Jose will fight 2 more years.
Yeah,
by the time all timing of fights,
he could still mess up that division.
He fights 2 times a year. Look, every time he fights 2 times a year.
So the main event on that card was Marlon Moraes and Rafael Assunção. And
go ahead.
Marlon Moraes looked great again.
Yeah, I was going to say, he hasn't looked bad since I've watched him.
The fight ended with a guillotine from behind?
Yeah.
Standing guillotine from behind.
That's what I was
first round.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking
about
earlier.
3 minutes into the fight. And
which in the Bantam division? Fuck.
Even before that. So he's coming off of 3 consecutive first-round finishes.
Yep.
And he's looked so dominant in every single one of those fights. His only loss since coming to the UFC was against Rafael Assunção, who he just defeated.
Which he was green.
That was his first fight in the UFC.
Yep.
And since then, he's beat everyone. And he is the clear number 1 contender in the bantamweight division right now.
Great six-pack, too.
Oh, yeah, he's shredded.
Dude, he's absolutely shredded. Which is
bantamweight. He reminds me of Krillin from Dragon Ball Z, but his voice is way higher.
Got a 28-inch waist and just fucking 9-pack. He's got that extra one just at the bottom.
He's been messing people up. Like I said, he's got 3 first-round finishes consecutively.
Yeah, it was a standing guillotine choke.
And
head kick to Jimmy Rivera, which was not a fucking cakewalk. Aljamain Sterling complains that he ducked down for that wrestling move. Dude, he caught him so square. That was fucked up. John Dobson, whether it's a decision or not, that guy's always dangerous and entertaining.
Yeah, he's quick.
He's fun. So, yeah, your opening bout, you lose to Rothwell, that's going to happen. Fuck, besides that, I think it's nothing but sky's the limit for Marlon.
Yeah, he needs to be the next fight against Tito Dillashaw for the bantamweight championship.
Yeah. And what a better matchup. Two similar style guys.
They don't want to lose the rematch of champ versus champ as a seller, I think.
Yeah.
But I think this should be the next fight to make.
I agree.
As far as Hakilo Sunsao goes, he's in much the same way we just talked about Renato Moicano. He's going to have to get back in line. He's got some good wins, and he's getting up there in age. But he's got some tough guys. He's going to need probably two wins before he gets back to title contention. And this would have done it for him. He'd be the Marlon Rice.
Maybe he'll fight Jimmy.
Yeah,
Jimmy be entertaining.
Yeah, after Aljo and him fight tonight.
Yeah, that's exciting. That'll be a fun fight.
So last week was UFC 234.
Yeah, pay-per-view.
And we're going to start out with Crute and Alvey.
Yeah, I want to talk about this. You got Crute that, to me, I don't think he was anything really special on, up front, on paper, or anything like that. But definitely a new upcoming fighter that could definitely do some things in the division. Sam Alvey, wanted to talk about this because apparently Sam Alvey was knocked out twice in that, and I watched it. I watched a replay several times. He was very wobbled on his feet, took one in the back of the head. He actually had a win before this over Nogueira, Nogueira, where he hit Nogueira in the back of the head and cleared him out like that, and they just did it on one time for him. He was all over the place, kind of protesting that he wasn't completely out. I think Crute would have smashed him still. The reason I bring this up is there's a lot of this early stoppages going on here recently. And I'm sorry, it's to the ref's discretion. Yeah, there's refs that fuck up, but I think Alvey would have taken a lot of damage at light heavyweight the way he looks. So to me, Sam has kind of been putting things together, but he's not really anybody in contention at all. This might have catapulted Jimmy Crute here, depending on who's next in the lineup for him.
What did you think of the Ricky Simon and Ronnie Yaya fight?
I like Ricky a lot. I think Ricky's could be a new really big name in that division. Yeah, I think what a lot of people are saying on social media, Ronnie, that's going to hurt. That could be a cut from the UFC eventually.
I don't think he's getting cut. I think that he missed a big opportunity. That he's been waiting for this chance to be ranked, to come away with another win. It was not a good look.
No.
So hopefully he bounces back and we see some more of him on some main cards. Yeah. After that, we had Lando Venata.
Yeah, my buddy.
How did he do?
Lando looked good, man. The thing about Lando that I've always said, besides having an unreal Star Wars name, Lando is always an entertaining fighter, no matter win or lose. He had very many fights that he could have shocked the world that he had draws in. He had a draw over with Bobby Green. Obviously, he came in with Tony Ferguson when that fight. There's a lot of fights that he was young in his career. He had nothing to lose, but he's always entertaining. His record does not show how good he is. And I think that's why the UFC just signed a 4-fight contract with him this January, because he doesn't disappoint. And he didn't disappoint with a second-round sub here over Marcos, which Marcos isn't a name that anybody knows. But Lando getting a win right here is monumental for him, because with this contract, Lando very quickly in 3 or 4 fights from now could be somebody that people are talking, where's he going next?
And then the main event of that card became the main event. It was the co-main event.
Yeah, good gracious. Glad I saw that on TV.
Drop out.
Yep.
Israel Adesanya and Anderson Silva.
Yep.
So Israel Adesanya wins by points. Unanimous decision, all 3 rounds.
Yep.
I think all 3 judges scored him all 3 rounds.
They all did.
What do these 2 fighters do moving forward? Personally, I think that I'd like to... I mean, I'd heard before the fight that the UFC had promised the winner the next title shot. I think that now gets complicated with the fact that the title fight didn't happen, and I'd love to see them back out on that and give Adesanya another fight before he gets a title fight.
I agree.
I don't think he's done enough to get a title fight. I think he's been outstanding in every single fight that he's fought. But his two biggest wins are Derek Brunson and Anderson Silva, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Derek Brunson's barely top 10, and Anderson Silva's 10 years past his prime.
Yeah.
I think that you need a win over a top 5 guy before you are the number one, like the consensus number 1 contender. He hasn't fought anyone in the top 5. He's looked incredibly dominant in the fights he has had. But I would love to see the UFC say, hey, we're going to run it back. The fight didn't happen. We're going to have Kelvin Gastelum and Whitaker fight again.
Yeah. Don't get off
maybe
that
in July,
road.
August, whenever Robert Whitaker's fine to go again. In the meantime, let's have Israel Adesanya and Luke Rockhold fight each other.
I knew you were going to go that route. I like that.
Luke Rockhold has
That's
had...
if he stays in the division.
Yeah, which, I mean, I've heard talks that he might move up to light heavyweight, but right now it looks like he's going to stay at middleweight for the time being. Rockhold has not fought Whitaker recently.
No.
Or has never fought Whitaker.
Yeah, never.
That's my bad.
No, you're good.
But he's a top contender, and I think that would match up to be a great fight.
100%.
Luke Rockhold and Israel Adesanya. As far as Anderson Silva goes, I'd like to see him released by the UFC. I think that there is opportunity. He showed that he can still fight.
Yeah.
He but he went the distance with Israel Adesanya.
He lasted.
He showed that there's still something in there. I think he should go to Bellator, fight some other older middleweights, show everyone else that he's still got it. He can still put on entertaining fights. I don't want to, like, if he stays in the UFC, he'll be the stepping stone, I guess.
Yeah.
He'll be the next Israel Adesanya will come in and say, hey, I beat Anderson Silva. And, I mean, they'll throw him to the wolves, which is, I mean, you do that. You want the best people fighting for you.
Works.
But I think that there's still, if he wants to keep fighting, I'd prefer he just retires. I'd hate to see, the biggest thing is ESPN's now the UFC. There's going to be a lot of new fans, and I'd hate to see all these new fans who don't know Anderson Silva
that we saw
see his last 7 fights, 6 of them being losses, something like that. He's not the same. Yeah, I'd hate for that to be his legacy. And I'd love to, if he wants to keep fighting, I would like to see him go over to Bellator, where they have old middleweights who compete, who
at a high level.
Yeah, he can be on a pay-per-view, as opposed to stacking up losses at the end of his career or going after wins that don't mean anything. If he wants meaningful fights with names appeal who want to watch, I think that's why he just called out Nick Diaz. Because he's looking for an older fighter with a name that someone wants to watch, and there are none in the middleweight division of the UFC right now.
No.
So that's why I think the smart move for him to go to the UFC. What was your takeaways from the fights? What do you want to see these guys doing moving forward?
Yeah, I hate to say, because I've always been a fan of Anderson, and I'm obviously a huge fan of Israel. I watched Israel's first fight, and I watched a lot of his kickboxing fights before he got in the UFC. The guy's entertaining. He's fun to watch. I definitely think, same with you, he's got to fight a top 5 guy. I think, honestly, if he's around, Luke Rockhold, 100%. If not, let's get a real bitchin' match on Twitter and get some 2 guys that are complete opposite. Have him fight Weidman.
Yeah.
Have him fight Weidman and say, look,
it'd be an interesting
here's
fight.
a different style. This is a wrestler. This is a guy that's fought the higher levels. Or you can go really greedy. You can let the Costa Yomero fight go out, and then one of them, because either one of those god bodies that are on the front of Dolce & Gabbana could fuck up anybody in that division, let alone are going to be one of the best tests for Israel, because not only is he dealing against a bigger athletic body frame guy, he's also fighting guys that have knockout highlight reels and have been dominating the middleweight division for 5 years.
Yeah, so I
not Costa, but Yo Romero or Luke.
If Costa wins, which that fight's still a couple months out, but so that'll be good to wait and see what we hear with Whitaker when his return is. But an undefeated Adesanya and an undefeated Paulo Costa, I would
be as good as you could go
behind that fight as well. Yeah,
and that'll sell a lot. And that's also, again, 2 fighters that really haven't seen each other. Israel's talking about when he fought Uriah Hall that he's like he wouldn't want to take my jab like Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall ain't no fucking scrub. Uriah Hall has some of the highest highlight reels ever. So Paulo Costa has been fighting high-level guys. He has been fucking them up.
Yeah.
So
both him and Israel have been
just like
really
yourself, let's get two guys. And the Romero deal, I like Romero against Israel, but I would way rather see Costa because they're younger. They're
if
crazy.
you have the both undefeated going at
Two
it.
undefeated's going. And you know what? Yoel,
both under 30.
Yeah, Yoel's on his way out in the next couple of years just for father time.
Yeah,
I don't think he'll stop fighting. I don't think he'll fight in the UFC. But, Luke or... And the only reason I bring up Weidman is just because Weidman talks so much shit that I think he should go in there and try to prove himself because besides the Kelvin Gastelum win, he's had a terrible fucking 3 years.
Gastelum's that good of a win either.
No. So that's my point is get him against a guy that's ranked and thinks he should be up there and fuck him up and then go and fight Costa or, Romero if it's feasible.
Mm-hmm. So the fight that was dropped from that card was Robert Whittaker and Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah.
So Robert Whittaker had a hernia and complicated
Exposed through the
intestine.
skin. Yeah, it was exposed.
And risk of dying if you got hit in the wrong spot. So that fight didn't happen. What does the UFC do from here moving forward with that middleweight championship belt? Because personally, I thought it was strange that Kelvin Gastelum was getting the next title weight fight. I think that they need to give it to him, especially since it was also the last seasons of Tough, and it's the coaches from Tough.
Yeah. Which puts him in a tough spot.
I think that it puts everyone in a tough spot.
You know what I'm saying?
Gastelum's in a tough spot because he's got to sit and wait and see what the hell's going to happen. And Whittaker, I guess, I don't think the UFC is going to strip him. He's just been really unfortunate lately with injuries.
Yeah.
But it's a tough spot for everyone, and I would love to see the UFC say, wait, Whittaker's going to be ready to go in July or August.
Sure.
We'll just reschedule this for then.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's the right move.
So I think that's the direction I'd like to see them go. I kind of would be surprised if they end up going that route, honestly, because they've been throwing out these interim belts left and right. If anyone can't fight as a champion for any reason, you have to have another championship fight. So, well, I'm interested to see how it goes, but I really do hope that they give him another chance, even though I did not feel that Gastelum was deserving of the title fight to begin with.
And I agree. I think the biggest thing is if you do the right thing and you reschedule the fight and do exactly what these guys are supposed to do from now, which was have the end of the year tough fight, have the fight for the middleweight belt. If you don't go that route, Kelvin Gastelum needs to be very careful because what could happen here is he could get a little cocky. He could have this belt, think he's just fallen into line, which unfortunately he has because he's only really got 2 big wins in his career, which are Ronald Cesuza and obviously Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping was almost to retirement, knocked him out after a fight that he had a month prior. Ronaldo is obviously a little bit older in the middleweight division. I don't consider the Vitor Belfort fight at all anything high level because Vitor was in his career, and same with Johnny Hendricks. So really, the loss to Chris Weidman was the only fight that was even in his realm of middleweight. So like you said, him gaining that belt right now, that's a huge slap in Whittaker's face, and that's what I'm saying. He better watch out because if he doesn't fight Whittaker, someone else is going to come in and really make it known to viewers, this guy shouldn't have been here. Because you could bring somebody in, you could bring somebody in like a Ronaldo or, hell, fucking anybody in the top 5. Israel even comes in and just makes you look like a fool.
Yeah, that's what I've heard of people talking about, having Gastelum in Israel
Yeah.
for a interim belt.
Yeah, because I don't think
And that's-
Jacare deserves to be in that area. I know I was calling Ronaldo.
I think
Jacare should be around, but I don't think he deserves the fights that everybody else could get because they've
I'd
never had
rather
him.
see Jacare in Israel than Kelvin. But
Which I like that. But the problem with that is Jacare at almost 40 fighting in Israel who's fucking 20, in his late 20s. That's a big difference. That's another Anderson Silva situation.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that in the middleweight.
all right, real quickly.
So again, a shame that fight didn't happen because I really would have enjoyed seeing that.
Before we wrap up,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and preview a little bit from UFC 235. Going to be happening on March 2nd.
Yep.
What do you think of the Thomas Almeida and Marlon Vera fight?
I love that one just because the bantamweight division is so fun to watch. I think there's going to be could be a lot of lightning that night with that whole card, especially with that, with Almeida on that. I think that's going to be one of those fights that, is entertaining to everybody. Anything could happen, and also could spike everybody's career up after that win. Maybe not anything high-level contender, but definitely move them up the ranks.
Oh yeah, you get people talking about him.
Yep.
It's definitely a good night to be fighting.
Yep.
We've also got Diego Sanchez and Mickey Gall fighting that night. I think that's an interesting fight.
That's cool. What do you think about that call-out with Mickey? Because they said Mickey's call-outs are very unusual, which this is obviously a perfect representation of that. What do you think about him fighting, a seasoned fighter like, the Thomas Almeida fight and Marlon Vera makes a ton of sense because Marlon Vera is a killer. He's up and coming in the ranks. Thomas Almeida's been around a little bit. He's coming up in the ranks. Mickey Gall's coming in the ranks and fighting a guy that maybe could be out of the UFC in 2 or 3
Right,
years.
it's going out of the ranks.
Out of the ranks. You know what I'm saying? So what do you think about that?
I think it's an interesting fight. I think Mickey Gall has been pretty strategic on his call-outs.
Yep.
He's calling for guys that he thinks he can win that have big name recognition. I mean, first he was calling out CM Punk, which worked out great for him.
Really, that
because
was a catapult.
People are going to watch that.
That was a catapult, man.
So you get a win over CM Punk. Now everyone knows Diego Sanchez. He's been around for forever.
Yep.
If he feels confident about that fight, then that's a fight that people will watch. And that's why I thought we were going to be compelled to talk about it because both those guys I'd like to watch fight. And I don't know that. I think Mickey Gall's done very well with his call-outs. I think he's been very smart.
And that's why I wanted to wonder because it's very unique and very odd, and I think that's a terrific approach, like you said, because one, Mickey was a very talented fighter. He got a lot of shit in the beginning that this guy's only got 4 professional fights and he's in the UFC, but he's got 4 very professional good wins in the outside the UFC, and then comes in Diego. Come on, man. The guy's an absolute assassin. He's crazy as hell. He's going to go in there and either be laid out and taken out on a gurney or do that to someone else. Mickey is going to go in with a plan, but he knows how fun it can be to fight somebody like that. And you got to remember, Diego just took a kid out that was young that called him out like Mickey. That kid was cut 3 months later. So Diego knows what's on the line. He knows he could do something else. And, Diego says all the time in these crazy interviews, he's going for the belt. So he has nothing to lose. He doesn't give a shit about his age. He just wants to go out there and swing leather and see what the fuck happens. No, I've meant to bring this up. Thomas Almeida and Marlon Vera that we just talked about, that fight, like I said, is absolute rockets could happen because Marlon Vera has knocked out some guys that he was way underdog on. Thomas Almeida at one point was the Cody Garbrandt of the Bantam division until Cody Garbrandt fucked him up, and then he had some bad luck, fell in some hard times. I'm telling you right now, Almeida either loses his ranking, which he should, and Marlon moves up to top 10 with this win over Almeida. And possibly could be fighting for the belt, and I'd say in about 2 years. Not this year, maybe not even next year, but I bet you in 2 years, because the guy's a crazy, crazy son of a bitch. I mean, your name is, Cheeto. Let's be honest. But anyway, I didn't want to take away from Diego. I should have highlighted way more on Almeida because I've always been a fan of him, and this Vera guy I've been following attention a lot. Mickey Gall, Diego, I don't think that goes past 2 rounds. I really don't. The way that Diego fights and the way Mickey finishes,
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yep, cool.
So Johnny Walker just stepped in for Ovince St. Preux, who had to drop down against Misha Serkinov. And I think this is going to be a big fight for the light heavyweight division. I think if Johnny Walker comes in and knocks Misha out like he has his last 2 opponents, then he's going to be shooting up the rankings. And I think this is a chance for Misha as well. That people are talking about Johnny Walker. He's an exciting fighter.
Absolutely.
And I think that, honestly, even though Ovince is ranked higher, people have seen him fight, and this is a big opportunity for Misha as well.
Yep, I think there's a lot on the line for both. It's definitely a status because one guy, again, can lose their top 15. Another guy can catapult to the top, like I said. So, yeah, I agree. I think this is another fight that doesn't make it out of the first round. The way that Johnny fights and the way that Misha is, he's got a hell of a chin on him. He definitely doesn't give a fuck who you are. So this could definitely be entertaining. There's probably going to be a lot of blood in that.
Who wins?
Johnny.
That's who I got as well.
I think Johnny does something crazy like a flying knee or maybe another spinning back fist, something that you're not expecting a light heavyweight at 205 to do.
I think it takes him out round 2. You said you don't think the fight gets out of the first round?
I don't think it gets out of first. Not with Johnny.
Okay.
Yep.
After that, we got Jeremy Stevens and Zabit Magomed Sharipov.
Yeah, go ahead and try to say that properly. Dude, Jeremy Stevens coming off of a blistering liver shot. I don't think a rhino could have taken that liver shot from Aldo, so I don't really take away from Jeremy. He's still an absolute knockout artist, crazy as hell. I mean, over Rafael dos Santos back in the day, that was a highlight reel that everybody saw. Zabit, one of the smoothest featherweights I've seen besides Max and Aldo. So not only do I think Zabit moves up the rankings 6-7 spots with this win, there's a ton on the line for Jeremy because Jeremy is, again, I know we keep saying it, there's a lot of these guys that are 4 or 5 fights away from maybe retiring. Zabit is young, he's hungry, he's smooth and smart. I think Zabit beats maybe with a spinning back kick to the face to Jeremy Stevens because that height advantage and length. I don't know if Jeremy Stevens can get inside enough to drop the bombs he wants because Zabit is so good with distance. But Zabit also hasn't fought anybody that's been anybody at this level.
I think this is going to be a very interesting fight.
Yep. Don't blink, I can tell you that. Yeah. It's going to be fucking fast.
It could happen anytime.
It's going to be very fast.
After that, we got Cody Garbrandt making his return after back-to-back losses against TJ.
Yeah.
Against
start out on this.
Pedro
I'll let you start out because I'll have plenty to talk about this.
I think Cody's going to come out with fire, man. I think he's going to be looking to get the taste of those last 2 fights out of his mouth quickly. I think that he's going to be trying to throw bombs. I think he could get caught because of it like he did the Dillashaw fights, but I see him winning early.
Sure. Yeah, I think Cody's going to have a giant chip on his shoulder in his advantage. I think Cody's going to come out and probably knock Pedro out under 2 rounds. Again, like you said, I love Cody to death. I fought him a long time. He's an Ohio boy. He's definitely boxing fiend, but his punching style leaves him very open, which TJ figured out very quickly and twice. But those 2 losses and what that took away from Cody, he might come out with a man on fire. So I think he takes Pedro in under 2 and also instantly gets a rematch with whoever takes the Bantam belt within a year, which is great for Cody. Yes, I think...
Even if it's TJ again?
Depends. They might have him fight somebody else that's screaming through the rankings, too, because bantamweight right now has so many guys flying up the rankings that they may say, TJ, Cody, we don't want you jumping right back in with TJ.
Yeah.
Maybe he ends up fighting Morales.
Yeah, I think it'd be a tough sell to get a third fight with TJ
maybe
after
Morales,
2 quick KOs.
Well, what if Morales loses to TJ or Cejudo to whoever takes the Bantam belt, and then Morales says, well, fuck, I need a good fight. Cody comes off this Pedro fight. They fight each other. That's a terrific matchup.
Yeah,
and then you get to say, hey, let's go right back to the drawing board.
If he comes out of that, then maybe.
Yeah, I don't think Cody with this win gets another title shot. He's walked through the fire, but he's not walked enough to...
Yeah, I think he needs more... I mean, he beat Dominic Cruz, which, fuck, man, that's impressive. But other than that, but he needs more fights against big fighters.
This is also another division that's very similar to heavyweight, to where one punch when you're that size and that fast can put you out. I think Dominic could have done the same thing. And Cody Garbrandt right now would never be heard of again, which that's coming from a huge fan of Cody Garbrandt. I love him to death. After watching his fighting style with TJ, it scares me. Can you continue this career?
I don't know that you can
6
string
years.
wins together with that fight.
Can you go 6 more years with that style and not be brain dead? Because you're going to get
fun
finished
to watch,
a lot.
Man,
I love the tats, man. He's my boy, ride or die. So, well. Let's bleed into a big conversation.
Following that, we got Robbie Lawler's return against the introduction of Ben Askren, and I think this is a fantastic
Old Furry's
fight.
Head, baby. I love it.
We haven't seen Robbie Lawler for a while now. His last fight was... When was that?
He was back against...
it was when he lost to Rafael dos Anjos after Dos Anjos moved up. And then Ben Askren, who's undefeated fighter, but has yet to fight in the UFC. He just got traded to the UFC for Mighty Mouse as part of that deal. So I think that...
What a great deal, too.
Yeah.
That worked out for everybody. I think that worked out for everybody. I really do.
I think that Ben Askren was great in the press conference.
Yes.
I think that people are going to be fans of him.
Yep.
And I think everyone loves Robbie Lawler. I am very excited about this fight.
Yeah, I like this a lot. And I think, too, is one, the unknown of Askren being in a UFC environment makes it even more exciting. Obviously, Robbie Lawler has never had a non-entertaining fight. He's always fun. He can knock anyone out. He'll get knocked out. He doesn't give a fuck. I think the cool part about this is two welterweights that are older in a division, that there's a lot of up and young comers that are still banging it out at the top level. Plus, again, what we talked about earlier, this is a fight that's just out of the blue that no one would ever think to book. This is what people want. People want shit they can't expect and can't prepare to see.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. I think that I hope Ben Askren is impressive and adds a new wrinkle to the division, because the division is already stacked.
Yes.
And adding a new high-level guy that hasn't fought any of these other high-level guys is going to be entertaining.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on from that, we have a championship fight.
Yep.
Tyron Woodley is fighting Kamaru Usman. Usman just jumped over the guy who holds the interim title for that, so that's a little bit interesting.
That's
but
very interesting.
I also think that this is a fantastic matchup. These guys are both very good wrestlers.
Yes.
I think that Woodley holds the advantage in the wrestling, and I think he also holds the advantage in the striking.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be a tough fight for Usman, but I also have never seen a fight with Kamaru Usman where he looked like he was outmatched. He looked like he's been dominant strong. Every time.
You know, Woodley just in that division has just been such a titan. I mean, Woodley could probably go to middleweight and probably do some serious damage. But with Usman, I think you're not going to see a guy that's going to back down or maybe get hurt early and not press the pace earlier. So I think both of them go to war. But Carmu and also obviously Woodley are both planners. So they aren't going to be in there getting chaotic and maybe doing stuff they normally do. They're going to go in there with a plan knowing, hey, both of us can put each other out at any point. But I think Woodley has never really met somebody that's like, yeah, that guy can punch as hard as I can, so I better back off. Woodley's going to say, I'll take my time, I'll do my dance.
He's smart.
And he'll fucking finish.
He'll win by decision.
Unless it's Wonder Boy, which I'm sorry, those two just do not dance well for entertainment purposes. But you know why? Because they're both that fucking good.
Yeah, and same thing with Damian Maia. You don't get close to him.
You don't know, because guess what?
Yeah,
a
you
blink
beat
of
him.
an eye, you're going to be bleeding out of the eyes.
You beat him.
And that's the thing is, I think with Usman, he's going to wait to attack, but he wants to see if Woodley's going to play a fast or slow pace. Because Woodley played a very fast pace against Robbie Lawler when he knocked him out to take the belt. With Wonder Boy, took a slow pace.
Woodley has impressed me so much in his last few fights. It seems like the fight always goes according to his game plan.
Yes.
And he always wins.
Yes.
At least recently.
Yep.
His last loss was against Rory, who's a fucking killer over in Bellator. I think that Woodley wins this. I think that Usman may be a champion at some point in the future.
Yeah, I agree too.
He's
young.
Dangerous.
He's
like
young.
you said, he's a problem, but I think that Woodley's got the answer to this problem this time.
Yeah, I agree.
The last fight on that card, and we've already spoken about it, is Anthony Smith and John Jones. So without getting into the fighters too much, how do you see the fight going?
I'm going to put two predictions because of this fight.
Hedge your bets.
Yep. I'm going to hedge my bets as much as I can. I see Anthony Smith with a low knee on John Jones going in for a takedown that doesn't finish John or even wobbling bad, but gets him off his equilibrium. Anthony finishes with punches, ground and pound. Obviously, I think Jones finishes him with a knee to the body and an elbow across the head for a TKO in the second round. In my number one pick. My fan pick, because I love Anthony Johnson, is that fucking low knee. I think he finished him with a body knee and an elbow to finish the TKO.
Yeah, I think that John takes his time in the first round, feels him out, and then in the second round, he dominates him, takes him down, and ground and pound TKO victory.
Yeah. It's really hard not to say that, honestly.
I that's the way I see it going.
Love you, Anthony, though. R.I.P.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to all these fights. So.
I mean, there's not a fight that we just talked about that if I sat down right now and someone said, you just got to watch these the rest of the day, I'm excited for every fucking fight that's coming on that card. Because anything is going to catapult a career, or it's going to be the knockout of the season. So
Right.
let's go watch it.
So that's our first episode.
Yeah,
we're gonna try to do
that was
better
great.
next time. We're gonna get ready here in a couple hours and get ready to watch the first main card on ESPN for UFC.
Yeah.
Kane and Ngannou.
Francis
We're gonna
Ngannou,
shoot to
yeah.
meet back here in
Momentarily.
March for the card there. So join us for that, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks.